Tom Solon, and Beth Williams. Beth Williams. And Cindy? Is Cindy here too? I'm sorry, I can't see you. Okay, Cindy Van Conen. So we are all here. Superintendent, do we have any agenda adjustments? Are there some things we'd like to take off this agenda? It's now 6:50.
We do have one agenda adjustment.
Okay.
We inadvertently left off the Capital Expenditure Advisory Committee update.
Okay. Capital Expenditure Advisory Committee update. Okay. So, moving forward, we'll add that to the, oh geez, sorry. I don't know what that was. We'll add that to the discussion as an 8th item. Hopefully we will get to it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try to move through things as quickly as possible. We have a consent agenda. So I would like to do that as item number 2. I need a motion to move the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Rob.
Second.
Second by Kate. Is there any questions on the consent agenda? All those in favor? I cannot see you. This is going to be hard. 6-0? 7-0?
Tom's confused.
Tom? I'm following the outline, Tom. The consent agenda is online there. This is going to be hard. I don't like this layout. All right, are we ready to vote now? Okay. Between my eyes and my ears, this is going to be a really fun meeting. Yeah, can we shift these a little without messing up the mics?
I think so.
Is there some way we can do that so I can see you all?
Mark it a little bit.
Yeah. That's whistling. Right, that works a little bit. Thank you. Okay.
We're off. Our mics are off.
Oh, your mics are off, so it must be mine then.
You have to turn
All right,
it on.
all those in favor of the consent agenda, I'm calling the vote again. All those in favor? I've got 6. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, 601, that carries. Okay, I need a process observer, and the process is a little interesting because we started 50 minutes late, but I need a process observer. Someone want to volunteer for that? Okay, it's like herding cats. Yep. Does someone want to volunteer to be the process observer? Okay, Rob's doing it. All right, Rob, you've been voluntold. Thank you. Okay, we have some minutes from the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School Board on May 13th, 2026. We have some amendments. Page 4, line 17, remove the space between under and enrolled. Page 6, line 5, replace 104 with 1-4. Page 14, line 44, delete is following from band. And page 17, line 19, replace form with from. Page 18, line 36, replace tip with trips. Page 21, line 39, correct the spelling of that. Page 38, line 33, insert Babcock following Durlow. Page 40, line 3, replace count with account. Page 40, line 42, delete page 35 of 68. Page 41, line 24, replace works with work. And replace page 42, line 4, replace that with. I need a motion to approve as amended. Moved by Kate, second by Rob. Okay. Okay. Thank you all. Okay. All those in favor, you can vote while standing, right? All those in favor of the amendments as amended. 7-0. Motion carries. And then we need a motion to approve I've got non-public minutes from May 13th with one amendment. Page 1, line 29, delete given following practical. I need a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kate, seconded by Rob. Okay, all those in favor?
Non-public.
Non-public minutes. Okay, 7-0. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I know the mic does nothing, so I will be as loud as I can be.
It does.
Well, you can hear us, but he can't hear me. Okay. Can you hear me now, Tom? Okay. I'll try to look at you when I talk. Okay, so Gina, I don't have an outline for the public hearing.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, I have minutes from the public hearing of June 9th. I was not here, Beth was not here, and Cindy was not there. You can still vote even though you weren't there. So I need a motion to approve as presented the minutes from the public hearing of June 9th. Moved by Beth,
Second.
second by Kate. All those in favor of the public hearing minutes, Tom? Okay, that's 7-0. All right, and now I need a motion that the board recess until the conclusion of the public hearing on the Hollis Brookline Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund. Moved by Rob. Second by, I don't know who I heard, Amy. I'm calling Amy. And that means the board is recessing at 6:57 p.m. So we are going to move into our public hearing. Should I read this? Is that what I do? Okay. In accordance with RSA 198:20-C, Gina Bursog, Superintendent, provided an explanation of proposed expenditure from the Hollis Brookline Maintenance Expendable Trust. Building and SAU administration identified several needed repairs and improvements for their respective buildings during the budget process. At the budget hearing for the FY27 budget, the Hollis Brookline Budget Committee recommended, along with the Hollis Brookline School Board, that the funding source for these particular items be the Hollis Brookline Maintenance Expendable Trust. So Gina, do you want to go over the cost?
Absolutely. So as we discussed in the budget process, we were requesting $300,000 to be transferred to the maintenance trust. The purpose of the $300,000 was $150,000 for phase 3 of 5 of the middle school roof, and $20,000 for ductwork cleaning here at the middle school, and then $130,000 for the track resurfacing at the high school. As I mentioned earlier, too, the lanes are unusable as is. So we need to move ahead and replace that. That totals $300,000. So we're looking to transfer $300,000 and utilize that $300,000 for those purposes.
Great. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Okay. So since we're at a public hearing, I'm going to open the floor for public comment on those expenditures at 6:58 p.m. Okay. Seeing no comment, I'm going to also declare the public hearing closed at 6:58 p.m. Thank you. And now we reopen our meeting. So we are reconvening our meeting at 6:58 p.m. Okay. Just give me 1 second, please. All right. So at this point, I'm going to open the regular meeting for public comment. Before opening the floor for public input, there are a few procedures and rules pertaining to public participation as per Hollis Brookline School Board Policy BEDH. We have set aside 45 minutes for public input tonight. We can extend that by majority vote of the board. Speakers must provide their name and address. Please direct your comments to the board chair. As you know, this is not a back and forth. The board generally does not respond to public input, but rather this is a listening session. We may ask a clarifying question, but we will not be responding in general. However, many times after public input is closed, we may return or reflect on your comments during the regular order of business of our meeting. We will be allotting 3 minutes per speaker as per our policy, but we hope that you will try to keep your input brief so that more people can speak to the topic. And we do set a timer, and we will try to give a 30-second warning. We will take comments first from individuals who have not spoken. We may or may not allow for repeat speakers. Unlike the annual meetings, there is no one to move the question, so we may have to end without hearing from people multiple times. Consistent with RSA 91-A:3, the board will not entertain comments that refer to an individual's qualifications or abilities, especially anything that could be perceived as negative. We need to protect the professional reputation of our staff. You may speak about a position, but not a person. Please maintain a civil manner and be respectful. And finally, we will allow students to speak, and I am opening the floor for public input at 7 o'clock p.m. 3 minutes. Yes, 45 minutes total, yes.
Good
Hi
evening.
there.
Brendan LaFlamme, Hollis. I got it right this time.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted to briefly continue part of the conversation from the May 13th meeting. During the public comment at that meeting, at least 2 speakers talked about scheduling and how freshmen are limited on the opportunities to sign up for electives. One speaker even stated they were encouraged not to take an elective by their guidance counselor for freshman year. In the several days after that meeting, others took to social media and shared that either they or their children were advised by guidance to not take electives going into the freshman year. Now, I don't know if this is a matter for administration or for the board to look into, but I would ask that whoever has that authority to please at least look into this and determine how accurate those statements are. If it's found to be true, I think that's a disservice to the kids, and it's denying them to explore their interests. Again, I don't know how true those statements are. It's certainly not my job to investigate that, but I ask that you at least look into that, and if that is happening, please take measures to correct that. Thank you.
And I did say this is not a back and forth, but I do think if we could have guidance at some point come to one of our meetings and really lay out the process for the entire registration process so that people would have a better understanding of all the work that they do and their approach. So I appreciate
I think
that.
that's a great idea, and I'm certainly not trying to tell anybody how
Right.
to do their jobs,
Right.
but it's
Thank
a
you.
concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Anyone else? Oh, sure.
Rebecca Shao, 146 Dow Road. I just want to say,
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Rebecca Shao,
Thanks.
146 Dow Road. I just want to say that after the last hearing, I'm really disappointed that the band director has been let go. You heard from a lot of the community and the students about how important that individual in that position is to the school, to their experience, to their mental health. And I think we all need to do better. And I ask that you guys do better. The budget passed. Nobody expected this to happen. And I think there's time to correct it and to show the students that their voice matters. They engage civically. I think that needs to be taken into consideration to show that there is a reason to do it. You are going to be heard. Your voice matters. They took time out to be here. We all have. So I would just really ask that you guys reconsider that decision moving forward so that we continue to be a Class A school providing a full experience for all of the students. Thank you.
Katrin Dickow, 125 Rocky Pond Road. Good evening, you guys. So I did send an email just yesterday. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but I wanted you to know that I'm here tonight because I care very deeply. Last month, I didn't really speak my mind, and I used my time at the podium to share most of the letter from the New Hampshire Music Educators Association. Since that time, the decision to release and eliminate the band director position has had more of a personal impact on my family. My son is music. It's part of who he is. And this is his senior year, and I never thought that all of these years that we have put into his music education would culminate the way that it is. And it truly is heartbreaking. And I wake up in the morning before my alarm clock thinking about it. And I understand that there are policies, and I understand that there are rules. I get that. I want to work with you guys. I want to be collaborative with you guys. And I don't know what we can do to salvage how next year is shaping up to be. And I'm just extremely disappointed in that. I don't know exactly what the solution could look like, but I would really, really hope that we would consider doing something, even in time for next year, whether that's hiring a part-time position, whether it's having some shifts in faculty. I know Ben Michon is pretty qualified in music, and I just wonder if he could step in for a period 4, which I guess is the only period that students who take CTE, either morning or afternoon, would be able to take a music class. And because there's now only one teacher, my son is not able to be in the honors jazz band, which is his one and only honors class that he takes. And he is and has been the drummer for honors jazz band for many years. And now next year he will be taking probably no music classes. The thing that I'm looking into right now is possibly, because he's taking CTE at Nashua South, he might be able to get involved in their music program. I'm going to explore that with them. But I feel like it's very sad that one of HB's top music performing students is being forced to play music at Nashua. Music should be a source of pride for our school. And I now know that the entire state is talking about how we are failing.
Thank you.
And I just want to be part of the solution.
Thank you. Later on in the evening, we'll be talking about the petition, and we have some responses for that and some information.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Karen Belmonte, 46 Trill Road, Hollis. I would like to echo what Kat DeCow had just said. I did make comment about the option of a part-time band director. This is also very personal to me. Music is how my child connects with the world. And I really think that, this shouldn't be the end for next year. Having an endorsed music educator is not the same thing as having someone that's trained and skilled and has the knowledge to lead an instrumental group. So checking the endorsement box, that's not benefiting the kids. This is an area that kids can't take on VLAX. My child's not going to take jazz band on VLAX. They can take most classes on VLAX and do quite well, but the visual and performing arts, they cannot. And I would really like you guys to consider your enrollment policy to set a lower minimum for visual and performing arts classes. I think it's appropriate to have less kids. That's individual instruction they need in person. So as I mentioned before, a guitar class with 9 people, that's a large group. So, I think a smaller number, 4 kids, 5 kids, that should be the minimum. So I would really like you guys to sit and come together for a solution now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kendall Hood, 11 Fletcher Lane. First of all, I want to thank the board so much for extending the public commentary last month. I know that made for a really late night for you guys, but I really appreciate you giving, especially all the students, the time to speak. I'd come prepared to say something, but when I saw the students get up, I was like, it's way more important that you hear from them than from me. Sorry, I wasn't gonna get emotional about this. Kat and Karen spoke so beautifully about how they feel such a personal connection to all of this because of their children that are high schoolers and middle schoolers. I have kids in the elementary school. I have 5 kids in the band programs at Hughes. I have 2 at Hughes, 1 at the middle school, and 2 at the high school. And I just attended 3 concerts in the past 2 weeks at those schools. And I can't tell you how hard it was to sit in there and see a gym full of eager band students, beginner band students, and it was, they were doing their best, they were making mostly beautiful noises, and think they don't have a future here. When they get to high school, this program will not be what it should be. And that just makes me so sad. I'm a musician myself. I agree with Karen that, again, I'm a private music instructor, and it's really, really hard to learn a new instrument, and having too many musicians trying to learn an instrument is like a nightmare. So I agree that you should consider lower class sizes. That's just part of learning a skill, like an instrument. And like Kat, I want to be part of the solution here. I have a lot of skin in the game. 5 kids in the program now, and a first grader with dreams of playing the slide trombone someday. So eventually he'll be in the band programs too. And again, I appreciate your time. I know that you've heard enough about the scheduling issues and how that's been an issue for a very long time. But I hope that we can like all work together to help find a solution to this, because our kids deserve
Thank
the
you.
best that they can get. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Is there anyone else? Okay. As I said, we are going to talk about the petition a little bit later on in the meeting, and we'll have the board will be able to respond at that point, or not. So I'm going to close public input at, oh wait, I have to give it a half an hour. So I have to give it a half an hour. I opened it at 7. So we're going to move on with our meeting because I don't see anybody else who wants to speak right now. And if anyone comes in between now and 7:30, if they want to speak, they can. But even though we're kind of beyond what we posted, I think we have to give it a half an hour legally. So I'm going to do that. Okay, moving on. Thank you. We have principal and athletic reports. We're going to start with our athletic board report. I don't know who's doing that. No, there are no mics for them? Okay. We're a little disorganized this morning, this evening. They don't have mics over there. We can move them. We can move a couple of these mics over. Okay, all right, thank you.
Athletic report. Our state champions middle school baseball team won their 4th championship in a row. Huge congratulations to all the student athletes and the coaches on their tremendous success. It was a really fun game. They were down 2-0, I think, going into the 6th inning, pushed it to extra innings, and pulled it off in the extra innings. So huge congratulations to our group of guys. Wonderful group of guys that should hopefully help the baseball team reach a championship next year. And then the other part of our middle school athletics report is, like the high school, the middle school season seems to be over as quick as it began, along with previously referenced baseball championship, boys and girls lacrosse teams, along with softball teams. All are in spots in their respective tournaments. The girls lacrosse and softball teams fell in the quarterfinal round, while the boys lax team won their first game, but unfortunately lost to the #1 Ross Lurvio in the semifinals. The outdoor track team also had a tremendous season. The boys finished 3rd overall, and the girls as a runner-up in the Tri-County Divisional Championships. Huge congratulations to our middle school athletics teams.
HBHS athletics came to a close for the spring season, highlighted by a state championship appearance by our boys tennis team, who fell to a strong Goffstown squad in the finals. Baseball team, who went 16-1, had a great season, and the girls tennis team, both of those and the baseball team fell in the quarterfinals of the respective tournaments. Outdoor track team competed, and Grace Dow represented us at the New England Championships this past Saturday, right after graduation. And then we celebrated our end of the year sports, all of our athletes at the sports awards this past Monday. The athletics department, as it comes to a close, with the next season right around the corner, they want to extend their sincerest appreciation and gratitude to all involved in the athletic program. Thank you to coaches, parents, student athletes, the Booster Club for their support and dedication, and a huge thank you to the Co-op School Board, as well as the SAU and building level administrators for continued support, as they always look to grow, improve, and provide positive experiences for students year in and year out. And then if you're looking for some opportunities to get involved, there's a lot of coaching positions available at the high school, cross country, field hockey, golf, soccer, basketball, winter cheerleading, girls lacrosse. You can check out the list.
Thank you. Congratulations to all the teams, Tri-County champions, but all the teams who really rocked it this year and this spring. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the athletic board report? No. Okay. Tom, can you not hear me still? Okay, good. All right, moving on. I need the board report for you guys. For you, thank you. Okay.
End of the year celebrations were another huge success. Monday night we had our 8th grade luau dance and celebration to celebrate our 8th grade students. Thank you to the parent, Santi Diolio, who also coaches. He put together a really nice slideshow of many pictures, about 30 minutes worth of pictures of our students from all of their years growing up. Students really enjoyed that to finish out the night. It was a really great night with that group of students. We're going to miss them a lot. Wish them all the best next year wherever they end up. We also had our 7th grade Outsiders Day with a barbecue where the police department and fire department showed up as they always do and grilled and served our students. And our 8th graders also went to Mel's Funway Park instead of Canopy, which we used to do. Overall, it was a great end of the school year. Just really appreciate all of our students, our families helping out, PTSA, and our staff just for a great end of the school year. I missed this last month, so my apologies. We had our Honors Music Festival, where the HBMS was proudly represented at the South Central District Music Festival many Saturdays ago. Mountain View Middle School, 9 of our band and chorus students were selected to participate alongside other top student musicians from across the region. Throughout the day, students engaged in rehearsals led by guest conductors and collaborated with peers from neighboring districts, culminating in an evening concert performance for families. This experience provided our students with a valuable opportunity to further develop their musical skills while representing HBMS with pride. We are incredibly proud of their dedication and performance, as well as the continued strength of our music program. Participating students included Eli Ader, Essie Brady, Owen Knoll, NJ Hayduk, Anya Ju, Selena Pepin, Olivia Robbins, Emma Badney, and Meredith Worthington. We finished out the year with our spring concerts last week on Tuesday and Wednesday. While our students consistently perform at a high level, both concerts highlighted a clear sense of growth and increasing musical maturity. Our chorus and music teacher, Alyssa Costa, led another outstanding choral performance showcasing the talents of approximately 125 students. The gym was filled with over 400 family members, and the concert was both engaging and impressive. The spring band concert, conducted by band teacher Liz Nault, featured a dynamic, polished program and reflected the hard work and dedication of our student musicians. In addition, Mr. Wallace's jazz band performed during the concert and did an incredible job further enhancing the evening with the energy and musical skills. Congratulations, Ms. Costa, Ms. Nault, Mr. Wallace, and all of our talented student musicians for making these events such a success. I've included my HBMS Code of Conduct, which I think is later on in the agenda, and I included end of the year dates, which we don't need to worry about anymore, but I also included next year's school dates so people can start putting those on their calendars.
So can I just have that for a second?
Of course.
Thanks. I just want to, I usually try to, look at them. I like to congratulate kids, and it looks like we've had some great celebrations, and congratulations to those students who went to the Honors Music Festival and the spring concert students. All of that is great, and I want to extend congratulations to them. For some reason, your board report is not linked to the agenda, so we just need to, I would like to rectify that so that it's, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, so it just needs to, I'm sure you sent it, it just didn't get linked. No, it's okay. It's just that I didn't see it, so.
Is the Code of Conduct one?
The Code of Conduct's here, but not the board report. So I'm sure you sent both, but it just didn't get linked, so.
Sounds
But anyway, congratulations to those students. It's great to hear so many kids are involved. We love to hear that kids are involved. Okay. Okay, moving on to the principals of the high school's board report, which we do have, or at least I have it.
Mine was linked.
Yeah.
I just wanted that on the record. Well, that's loud. We capped off our celebrations for the class of 2026 with a wonderful ceremony on Saturday, June 6th, with some great weather, albeit maybe a little warm, and some even better speeches from our students and staff. Ashley Disco, Ella Callahan, and Kylie Sorrell did a fantastic job addressing their fellow students and leaving them with heartfelt advice and challenges. The keynote speaker, social studies teacher Matt Portu, brought humor, kindness, and love to his speech. I heard the building principal also did a great job. It's not listed here, but I think he did well. It was a great morning and a fitting celebration for the great HBHS class of 2026, and we wish them all a ton of luck on their next adventures. At the end of May and into the beginning of June, we kind of wrapped up our performing arts season with our 2 amazing performances in the HBHS auditorium. On Friday, May 21st, we had our jazz night concert. It was a great night in celebration of our amazing music and talent from our students. 1 week later, our students, with the help and support of our ITS, International Thespian Society Club, put on a modern-day production of William Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. The costumes, the set, the music, and the control of understanding the Shakespeare language was impressive across the board. Congratulations to all the students and adults involved with sets, lights, costumes, makeup, and acting. It was a great way to wrap up an amazing year of performances. Our very own librarian, Christine Heaton, has been selected as the Northern New England School Librarian of the month of June. This organization represents librarian associations in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. They said this about Christine. Christine has gone above and beyond with the initiation, development, coordination, and follow-up with the New Hampshire Local Artifacts Boxes project. It is clear that she has spent an exorbitant amount of time and energy devoted to obtaining the boxes, creating the welcome kit with suggestions for materials, to obtaining, including folders, labels, plastic sleeves, envelopes, etc., and distributing the boxes, working with the historical societies, finding funding, communicating well to all stakeholders, finding online resources, creating an entire press kit, and hosting a Zoom meeting to check in with participants about their progress. This project's a wonderful collaboration between librarians across the state to benefit our students and the communities that we serve. It is without hesitation that Christine deserves this recognition. So congratulations to Christine Heaton. And she also may be appearing on a podcast later this month that she is surprised and thrilled about. I believe I'm talking about the Visual and Performing Arts Subcommittee a little bit later, as well as the Student Code of Conduct as well. I have included on here the current bell schedule, as well as my proposal for next year's bell schedule. What I'm looking to do is shift advisory from 15 minutes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to 25 minutes on Monday and Friday as a way to bracket the week. And then Cav block would be still Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 40 minutes. And it would be one session instead of two sessions. So the thought behind this is really using advisory as a way to set up and support Cav block, making sure students can get signed up, create goals, set plans for the week, and then Friday it's that wrap up of the week celebration and that sort of thing. We also think that shifting the time structure will reduce transitions and the amount of kind of quote unquote free time back to back to back in the schedule. And so if you look at that document, you will see that there's actually, with the shift, a net gain of 11 instructional minutes more throughout the week for teachers. And I included all the instructional minute breakdown on one of the documents.
That was helpful.
That I put there. Also, there's a proposal for an English elective called Senior Literature Seminar. So included for that, what we're looking to do is get permission to move forward with this, to continue working on it, to have it ready for the program of studies this fall so that it would be ready for the 27-28 school year. And really some of the driving ideas behind the creation of this course are being able to draw on materials that the department has acquired through some of the other courses that they run. They're looking to develop a course to consolidate some of the senior electives into something that makes sense for the staffing of the department, while still bringing a modern approach to student learning that embraces student choice and literacy support. And the outcomes set in this course are designed to apply to any area of study, making the skills the same no matter what the material the students elect to work with. So the breakdowns of those courses were also included. And then last, but I think not least, there is a trip proposal from our World Language Department for April 2028. And I would also like to talk about returning to the rotation that was prior to COVID for how trips were proposed. So the World Language Department, specifically Spanish teacher Mr. Alex Bosbos, is proposing a trip to Spain for his up to 45 student travelers. The job of our world language teachers is to provide our students with what is sometimes referred to as the 5 C's: communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, and communities. Simply put, the goal is to get students to be able to communicate with others in target language, understand foreign cultures, find connections to other subject areas, compare and contrast our two cultures, and create a global community. this trip seeks to satisfy all of those goals in a way that the classroom cannot. No matter how much we try to create authentic foreign environment, there's just no way to completely capture what a travel for these can study. So my understanding is the rotation before COVID was a trip to Spain, a trip to France. The social studies department would sometimes have a trip, and then they would sometimes go to Costa Rica. They would like to return to that rotation, and I support that, although I don't believe the Costa Rica trip is currently on the docket of something they're looking into doing. Important dates at the bottom. I think the most important one is summer vacation starts today and ends on September 1st. So have fun to all of our students on summer vacation.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take these one at a time and ask for questions from the board because it's a lot of different pieces in here. First of all, my understanding is that the building principal can make changes like this to the schedule without a board approval. Did you hear that? But if you have any so the changes to the bell schedule, because they're incidental, are not something we would vote on.
Okay.
So, but if you have any questions or comments, now would be a time to ask them, if you have any questions about that.
I didn't have a question. I just appreciated how you spelled out. We've been through a lot of schedule changes, and we all know how much fun that is and the feedback, but it looks great. Thank you.
It looks great, she said.
Yeah, and I like to think of this as minuscule. I know, some people are like, it's a big, and I can understand that, but I'm trying to play with the minutes that are there and see what we can do. I really think that the continued work with our advisory program, this shift, we're really going to see some improvements in both advisory and Cav Block.
Any other questions?
Not on that. But
You're good?
just on that. Yeah, I have something else.
So,
Another,
go ahead.
is this the only place we're talking about the trip?
No, this is
No,
the
I'm
schedule.
going to go
I'm
through
waiting. I
each
got
one of
questions
the
on it.
items on the board report, and we'll get there. But first, we're just doing questions on the schedule. Yes, this is when we will talk about the trip, but I'm not getting there yet. I'm on the schedule.
Don't worry, I'm
I have a
ready.
question about the schedule.
Yes.
So, how is the staff with the potential change?
So I presented this to the staff in March, and then sent out a feedback form, and we discussed it at our April faculty meeting. Some of the concerns focused around the original proposal had Cav Block down to 30 minutes, and a lot of pushback from the teachers of that's not enough time. Kids need more time. So I heard that and said, yep, I think 40 minutes seems to be that sweet spot where we're still getting plenty of time to make up, to get that extra support and continue, but it's still adding a couple extra minutes in instructional
Okay.
time during the day.
So they are comfortable with it now?
Yes.
And how about the students?
So I had received a petition signed by about 135 students demanding that I not change the schedule. So I brought the student in and I said, do you know how much I'm changing Cav Block by? And he said, I heard you're cutting it in half. I said, it's 4 minutes shorter. And he said, gosh, I feel kind of dumb for doing all this. Should I throw this out? I said, don't throw it out. You keep that. But come and ask me questions if you have any questions.
Okay.
So
So you have more support because it was only 4 minutes and not half of Cap Block?
correct.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on schedule? Okay, next on there is the English elective, the senior literature seminar. Are there any questions on that piece? Yes, Tom?
Jake, thank you for bringing the proposal forward. If I read your information accurately, you are viewing this as a mechanism towards elective consolidation. Is that correct?
Correct. Some of the electives that don't always run senior year, our poetry class usually runs, but we have, like, our sci-fi class doesn't always run. Some of our other electives don't. This would consolidate a lot of the materials that are in that class and turn into more of a seminar, one solid course.
I'm very supportive of the idea of taking the basics in English language, arts, and that sort of thing, and using that as a foundation. I mean, if we had a 800 or 1,000 kid per class, breaking it up into all the different genres might make sense just as a mechanism. But I've seen year over year different genres come and go depending on who's there, what literature is popular. I really like this approach. What I ask is, can the presentation about this be matched with what electives specifically get rolled into it so that we can see the big picture that we've got this instead of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Do we meet in July?
So the program of studies you can actually do that during the program of studies presentation as well, right? That would be an appropriate time, program of studies presentation.
Okay, I
I
didn't
can
hear
get you
when
the-
you were talking to him.
So I said that a good time for him to do that would be when he presents the program of studies.
I would actually, if he's got it, I would like to see it in advance of that
Okay.
so that we don't get bogged down and delay consideration of the program of studies with that minutia.
Okay,
I can do both. I can get that information to you, and then we'll talk about it
Okay.
again at the program
great.
of studies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So wait, am I understanding correctly that certain classes would no longer run if this class?
Some of the electives that we don't always run because the
Yeah.
enrollment's low, we want to take those materials and build them into a class where students really get to choose the topics they're talking about, and the focus is on the skills that they're developing.
Okay, I love the idea of posing a question and using the semester to sort of search it out.
Yeah.
And would this be a year-long class, or are you still figuring that out? Would it be a semester? Most of our English electives are semester classes.
You know, I'm
so-
sure this is written in here, and I probably just
So
don't
that's
see
a
it.
good, is it a semester? Okay,
Yes.
I didn't pull it up, so.
Semester course,
Okay,
right at the top.
thank
But
you.
In italics.
Depending on the structure and what it's replacing, it could be a semester class that runs both semesters.
Right, right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The Visual and Performing Arts Subcommittee, I think we're going to talk about later on in the, I think, deliberative section, so we'll do that. But there's a good proposal for those people who are watching and are interested in the Visual and Performing Subcommittee, you have to go into Mr. Hess's principals report, and then it's linked in his principals report, and you'll see a description of it. It's, a lot of information about it. So that's in the principals report. So just for those of you who are interested. Okay. Spain trip. Okay, I think Mr. Solon has some questions about this. Oh,
I have questions too, but I think
Ms. Williams does. That's great.
yeah, I guess I just want to first start really quickly. I know the
You're going to have to get closer to the mic
Okay.
and speak up.
Okay, I can do that. That better? Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to, I understand a lot of our trips have been impacted by the pandemic, and I'm glad we can move forward and move on with plans. I also want to just share briefly, I value travel, other cultures, everything beyond the average person. I have lived in other countries. I've traveled with the military, being in the Army. I fully support travel, and I think it's an incredible opportunity. I just don't want the board or administration to be surprised when I probably will not be able to support these things moving forward until I have better understanding or there's changes made. It was devastating to me to watch students not be able to go on trips. And I feel like before I voted last time to support trips, I asked what happens if a student can't afford to go. And I was assured we have funds. Students will not miss an opportunity to go based on funds. And that is not what ended up playing out in real time. These trips too are a little different, so I don't want to take too much time on it tonight, but the World Language Department, we have a ton of students that take it. They're looking at 45 students. It's a little different than when you have a program like in the visual arts program when an entire band or an entire choir is traveling, but a small number of students can't afford to go. And what happened previously, I know there's still a lot of kinks to work out, but students were asked to even write their own essay on why they couldn't afford to go. And that bothered me to my core, that we have an incredible community that has a lot of affluent families, but we also have families that don't have that same background. And it wasn't one student, it wasn't two students, it was numerous students, and it was devastating to me to see that I thought that we would not be denying a student that opportunity and that chance based on money, and that's what happened. So I don't need answers tonight. I just want better understanding moving forward. And at this time, I can't support trips because it's just really complicated. I want to, with everything in me, to support them, but I can't right now. So moving forward, I just need to understand more of the plan. So I don't have a direct question
Do you think
right now.
is there a policy that we could look at? Do you think there's a policy? Because you're on the policy committee, so maybe
I
there's
am
a
now.
policy
I
we
am
could
now
look at?
again. Yeah, absolutely.
and-
I think that would be
and
great to look at and
take
and be
into-
more in detail. And I think it's part of it's a policy thing, part of it was procedure, part of it was misunderstandings between departments. So I think some of those things may be handled differently, but it's still, we've had changes in administration, we've
Right.
got policy, we've got procedure. So I don't know where all of the answers lie.
Yep.
And I'm happy to look into it in policy, but I also want more feedback and better understanding so that we never have to tell a student no based on money. I think it's an incredible thing. I just, when we're presenting it as we are, like as it's written in here and the goals of, you know, I know they listed the goals very nicely. I won't read them all, but the 5 Fs, the communication, culture, like they're tying it in. We're tying it into our school and into our curriculum. So to watch students not be able to attend when we're pulling that in, I feel like those students are missing an opportunity.
So we had a conversation in policy a little bit about this. It was much more procedural, right? Didn't we have a conversation just so we're aware of it in policy? So I encourage us like to get something
Absolutely.
together for policy. And I think even though we as a board don't guide procedure, sometimes in the policy meeting, we can sort of lay out like some procedures that we think might help. And then also, obviously, Tom's on our budget committee, we could have some conversations on our budget committee related to this as well. So
Absolutely, and I agree. And I feel like it's complex and more complicated because, like I said, you have these small, intimate groups that might go on a trip, but you also have a big thing where it's more like, I want to include everybody and do all the things, but we don't have the funds and not all the families do either. So that's my concern. No direct questions, but if we can work on that between now and when you want a vote. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, and we can post, when would this need to be approved?
Before April 2028.
So,
I
sometime in the fall?
Yeah, I imagine that our regular process
Right.
works. We're not in a rush to do anything. They want to hold an informational meeting in October.
Okay.
So
We have a few months to work through some of the kinks, but I know Mr. Solon has some points too, and I want to hear them.
And I can completely appreciate those comments as the guy that wasn't here when that happened. I hear you and would definitely work towards really ironing out what that process looks like, being transparent about what that process looks like, and moving forward so that we don't have to have, any misgivings when we want to vote on something like this. So thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody else? Tom?
Thank you. This is a topic that I've voiced my opinion on before. This particular trip is now bringing it to a tipping point for me. With an expected cost of, in today's dollars, $4,800 per student. You're talking about a small group of families funding over $200,000 for this trip. 40 students at $5,000 is $200,000. And we're talking about that in an environment where we look at cutting budgets to save 20,000 here or 15,000 there. And the number of students that get to benefit from this is a very small group. And as was stated before, and I think it goes on, it isn't truly available to everyone who would be qualified to go if money was not involved. Now, we do a lot of other activities where we send a group. There are some things like sports where we ask the parents to pay above and beyond, and even that has some limitations, but where it's relatively inexpensive. I'm thinking of things like swimming and crew and hockey, where it costs more than just the athletic fee. And it's manageable on a certain level for the school to budget to cover the cost of students who can't. And I don't know what the mechanism is of them getting it, but I could reasonably see it. I don't see us being able to budget to provide real equity among our students. And if we really think this is a valuable activity, to have participation limited by financial ability to pay is incongruous with the concept of public education. So I will not be supporting this trip simply because of the limited access I think it offers, and it's quite possible that going forward I will have difficulty supporting the basic concept of these expensive and what I consider exclusive travel experiences that are absolutely great experiences. I'm not saying anything, but it really pains me that perhaps the people who would most benefit from being able to participate through a public education system are the ones least likely to have access to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for that. Okay. I think we're done. Is there any other comments on that? Okay. So that finishes out, I think, everything on the principal's report. We'll do the code of conduct in a little bit. We have a special time set aside for that. And then we'll talk about one more thing. We're going to go back to the Visual and Performing Arts Committee during deliberations. So now we're going to enter the discussion portion of our evening, and I am closing public input because it's now 7:41. So we're done with that. We're finished with that. So I've taken it upon myself to respond to the petition. It was handed to me. I am not speaking for the board. I'm speaking, I mean, I have some information that comes from the administration, but my comments and my opinions are my opinions. But I do want to say that even though the students aren't getting everything that they asked for in this petition and everything that they came up at the podium for, they did make a difference. And I don't know if they're going to feel like they did, because when you want something so badly and you don't get that thing, it's like, well, nothing matters. I didn't get anything. But you, first of all, educated us on so much about how important and how much of a community you are and how special that is. And we heard that. We truly, truly heard that. It doesn't mean you're going to get everything you want, but there's some things that we're going to try to do over the course of this year to I don't want to say fix it, but to make it better for the future, to continue to grow the program, to make a difference. And sometimes you don't get everything, but you still make a difference. And I really want people to hear that. I did write down everything because I don't love to speak right off the cuff like that, but I do want to thank all of you for your input. I think there were thoughtful comments both last month and tonight. We really did listen, and we've made some movements on the 4 things that you asked for on your petition. Not everything that was asked for is going to be accomplished this year, and that's really hard. But your influence has been felt and will make a difference in the long run. The first item that was requested was to pause or reconsider the elimination of the band director position for the upcoming school year. That's how it was phrased. I'm not going to get into the semantics because we didn't eliminate the band director position. That's a stipended position that occurs after school. It's extracurricular. What we did was do a reduction in force of the music teacher, the second music teacher in our school. Now, a reduction in force is technically a layoff, and that person can be recalled, not next year, but in a future year if he accepts it, if we have need for him. So he has not been let go or fired. He has been laid off for this year, just to clarify that. So I realized that you wanted us to reconsider that. And as you're aware, and probably now, we are not going to be bringing him back for this year. We have stipended positions that will be filled by people in our staff. Stipended positions are not part of the collective bargaining agreement. So even though the first item on the petition isn't accurately capturing what you're asking for, I understood what you want. And that being said, the administration is moving ahead with 1 music teacher to teach the 5 music classes that met required enrollment policies. The decision that was made in April has been deemed both appropriate and necessary. But one significant difference that your input has made is that the superintendent is keeping the second music teacher in planning for the next budget. And that's what's so confusing. So our budget for this year is set. So in July, the superintendent and her team will begin to plan for 27-28. And so that position, I believe, will stay, right, in the budget, which means it's easier to call it back if it's still in the budget. I don't think that was originally the plan. So you made a difference, and that's an important distinction. I know it seems granular, but in our world, granular So that's going to bring me to item 3. So although this isn't what you wanted, it's an important distinction because the position is there to be possibly filled for the 27-28 school year if we see an increase in enrollment in music classes. So that brings us to item 3 on your petition, which asks for collaboration with the community for a plan to strengthen music enrollment. So the principal has recommended the creation of a visual and performing arts committee, which we will be going over, and it is very specific and it's done very well, the presentation that he's made. So we can charge that committee with looking directly at what are the obstacles for enrollment in band. You guys have made a really good point that there's quite a few students. I've seen the photos and the videos online of the district band concerts, all of the students at middle school. We definitely have students interested in music and something's happening up here. And so we need to look at what those obstacles are and what can be done to mitigate those obstacles. With community on that committee, staff and student input into such a committee, programs, policies, and curriculum can truly be studied, data can be analyzed, and we can put some changes into place that will build the future of the program. That's a difference you're making. As for item 4, which asks us to look at policy, we're already trying to adjust class size minimums to make it easier to run classes that have not met the 15-person minimum in the past. There's a little confusion because of the way policy is presented. Our current policy, the minimum is 15. We've already amended it and suggested a change to 12. That amendment's reflected today in today's policy conversation. We're going to have further conversation about the minimums and maximums. And then finally, item 2 was to explore alternate staffing solutions, including part-time and shared roles. Although at this point, we're not providing a part-time curricular instruction during the day, I think, and I'm speaking for myself, but if the administration comes to us with suggestions and recommendations for more support for the one music teacher that we'll have next year, especially in his extracurricular roles, I would be open to hearing those kinds of suggestions. I think other members of the board are open to hearing those kinds of suggestions. We understand this is a heavy lift for the current music teacher, and we want to make it as doable as possible, and we want to encourage our kids after school in their extracurricular activities. So I wrote another part to this because my frustration is with what's happening around us in the state of education. And we live it, they live it. We don't even live it, they live it. So as I lay this out, I want you know that I hear your frustration, and I'm incredibly frustrated too. But I'm not frustrated with the students who are choosing other electives or the administration that's in an incredibly difficult situation, or even with listening, because it's hard to listen to all of this, and I'm so glad that we heard from you. I've been on this board for over 10 years, and I can honestly say that I'm now seeing direct negative impact from the decisions that are made in Concord. The current state leadership is making decisions that are intended to undermine public education, public services. The state is making decisions that are taking away more and more local control from you, the voters. I know that you're frustrated with this music decision. We are all unhappy that we're here in this situation. But with a voucher program funding private schools and home schools without accountability for standards for those programs, open enrollment bills that threaten local control, lack of adequacy aid going to public education, and more bills that I can go over that jeopardize our budgets and make responsible budget planning incredibly difficult, it seems that the leadership in Concord is undermining your local schools. And as many of your representatives are voting against Hollis Brookline schools that have been providing an excellent education and have led to an increase in our property values. Fundamentally, we want to be in a district where our students thrive, where music and arts are revered, and where our students learn and grow. And I believe that this music program, the situation with the music program, is directly related to pressures that we are feeling from current state leadership in Concord. So I ask that you go home and talk to the people who are so frustrated and ask them to look at how people are voting up there. We have 5 representatives. Pay attention to how the votes are going down, because they're not voting for things that make it easier for us to do right by kids. So that's where we are with the petition. Are there any comments, questions? Anyone else want to say anything?
Thank you, Holly. I appreciate you talking about those things. I just want to preface this by saying I am the proud parent of arts people. My son was in band from 4th grade all the way through high school, honors jazz band, honors whatever, anything he could get band, he did. He continued to play in college, and now he plays with a local band in his town and an arts program. It's a huge thing. He's also a graduating classmate of Mr. Rogers and Mr. Michon, and plays outside with them when he has a chance. My daughter is an arts person and dual majored in it in college and continues to involve herself in it there. I have the utmost appreciation and respect for what this does to a student. The concern I have with some of the requests that have been made is that I feel that there is some level of disservice being given to the other teacher in our school, in the sense that, you know, when Mr. Rogers came to us as an interim teacher for when Mr. Umstead took a year off, he had never taught. He was a brand new graduate. The more senior teacher that we have in the department came in when we had an opening for a choral teacher. I mean, that was the opening because Mr. Umstead was still here. But to my understanding, he has a full musical background. He is a performer, a musical performer, not just a voice person. And he, from what I understand, actually has experience as a band teacher. And what I'm hearing is, you shake your head no, but this is what I've been told as far as his experience. I don't know this for a fact, but my point is, what we have are two distinct situations. We have a situation where we have an enrollment issue, and we have a situation where we have a question of how much or who should be teaching what. And they are, to some degree, and I hope I'm not being viewed as disingenuous at this point, they are somewhat separate issues. And the control that we as a board have is twofold. One is we have the ability to set policy on how we conduct classes and goals for class size. And we have the ability to try to set the direction of our instruction going forward to curriculum. And I want to thank everyone who spoke. Whether I agree with the statements they've made or not, I do listen, I do care, and I think that's true of everyone. I'm particularly interested in the point that was brought forth by Chief Laflamme tonight, because if that is in fact something going on as far as how counseling is going, then that's a new point that I hadn't heard before, but I want to understand it better. I think a lot of this plays into the general overview of how we want to structure ourselves as an educational institution, and where what we emphasize, what we value, and how we try to lead our students in making good decisions. And all of this information is extremely helpful in getting perspective. So, as Holly said, please don't give up if the exact solutions that you seek, and they're varied, are all there. On the other side, we've got people who are beating us up to cut anything that isn't part of the absolute core curriculum, because that's all they think is needed. It's not even a money issue. It's philosophically, that's what they want. So we listen to those things too. We each have our own personal biases, but we try to set them aside and make these things work. So in summary, what I want to say is try to give the administration a little bit of trust that they will act on the best behalf of students, not on the best behalf of the board. We work collaboratively, but they don't kowtow to us in terms of their values and their position as educators. And to a certain extent, I have to say, I will defer to administration on their decisions as to whether or not they are putting together a staffing program that is capable of meeting the needs of our students. That's an area where I do have implicit and explicit trust. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, oh, go ahead. Do you? No. Just real quick feedback. I mean, I know I spoke before at the last meeting, but I just struggle. I like, to Tom's point, I definitely agree and support the administration. I'm one out of 7 on this board, but the fundamental issue I have with this particular situation is we're actively looking at policy. We're actively forming a committee. I have a few questions on the committee, but overall it looks fantastic, the plans, but we're actively looking for some answers, some options, but before we're getting there, we're making major changes and cuts to a program. And that's where I would have hoped for better for this. I would have hoped for a different solution for this. And in the future, when we run into issues, if we are actively looking at issues in policy, we're actively looking for feedback from the community, from our staff, all of our resources. In the future, I'd really hope we're not we're not pulling the trigger. We're not building the plane as we fly it if we don't have to be. And I don't think that this was a critical issue where we have to build the plane as we fly it. We've had plenty of those. The state has dropped plenty of unfunded mandates and thrown things at us that we have no option but to implement pretty much immediately and without support. But I don't think this was one of them. So I certainly see the concerns on all sides, from families and students. I see the concerns the administration is trying to address, but it's the urgency in it and not waiting till we gathered more information. And I think we would have arrived at it. Maybe, I don't know. It may still have ended up in this same situation, but I think we would have all had more confidence in it and had more information. And that's the piece where I'm frustrated, is I want more information before we're making a decision. So that's just, again, just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Rob?
Yep. I'm very sympathetic to the situation, and also very affected by the testimony that we have received over the last 2 months over this action that we had to take. I'm very interested in 2 things in the future. I want the committee that's being formed to bring forward solutions in terms of scheduling friction. I want to hear about that and how we're going to maybe reduce that friction. I want to hear how do we increase the attendance, so we're meeting policy, or at least some of the policies that we're thinking of changing. So I'm looking very specifically at this committee being put together. I want solutions and some opportunities and recommendations, because there's a lot of moving parts here that only this committee, I think, can bring, enlighten us to make better, additional choices and choices of how to move forward with this. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Great. Kate?
Thank you, Holly. I know that was a lot of information, and I think everyone here knows that this has not been an easy decision for anybody. Like Tom, my children are arts kids, well, 2 of the 3. All 3 of them, as of last week, have graduated from HB. My daughters both started chorus in elementary school through middle school, and chose choir and theater as their electives throughout their high school experience. My son started in the band in elementary school and middle school, and he's a little less, he likes to play music, but he's a little less inclined, and also very interested in engineering. And he had to make that choice as a freshman. music or project lead the way, for engineering classes. And that was the choice that he made. Oddly enough, I just bought him a guitar the other day as a graduation gift. So the music is still there. I am absolutely dedicated to trying to help figure out where we can retain those kids from middle school up into the high school. I want to be a part of this committee. I want to be able to provide the answers that you are asking for. This is not an end by any means. This is a pause. I look forward to being able to bring a band teacher back on. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? That pretty much ends that part. Does anyone over there have anything? You good? No. That's where we are with the petition. We're going to move on to the next discussion item, which is the student conduct. We have 2 pieces of student conduct to go over. And I don't know who's leading that. Who's chatting about that?
I guess so. I guess we can start with mine. When I came on last summer as the new principal at the high school, there had been some conversations about creating a student code of conduct. It is mentioned in our student handbook, but the creation of them hadn't been finalized. So myself and Mr. West worked this year on creating code of conducts for that will be included with the student handbook. We'll pull up the high school one here. Really what I did in creation of this is took our student handbook and really broke it down into a few sections. Really just talk.
Yeah, it's in his board report at the bottom.
Yes,
Last thing.
it's in the discussion section. Really just broke it down into expectations of students, whether it's as learners, general behavior expectations, academic integrity, safety, well-being, use of technology devices, and then talked about how we approach those with our progressive discipline and due process. So it is a condensed version of the student handbook where you can really look at just the general expectations of students at the high school and what we expect of them as students as far as attendance to school, how they carry themselves in the building and throughout. And then at the end, we talk about what we do in the instances when those expectations are not met. So kind of how I broke it down, connecting everything to policies and RSAs to connect all those things together.
Part of this work is being driven by updates to policy, which will be discussed, I think, next month. There's a policy JIC, Code of Conduct, and then policy JICD, which is Student Discipline and Due Process. Similar to Jake, pretty much mirroring Jake, ours is a little bit longer. At the middle school, I find that the more transparent we are with not only expectations, but how we respond as a staff, whether that's students or teachers or administration. I tried to build in a number of those different supports and disciplinary responses with regards to each of those sections, behavior sections, student code of conduct sections, so that students are aware of how we will respond as adults in the building, so that ideally there's no surprises. As we know, middle school can be a fun time of growth in many different ways. And so just, again, communicating this up front in a little bit more clear direction from administration on how students should conduct themselves, but also how adults will conduct themselves in responses to behaviors. I think it's just going to help everybody understand how we operate with regards to discipline and supportive measures in our schools.
Okay. Are you done, Patrick? It's really
Do you want
hard.
do you want me to read the 9-page
No,
document?
no, it's okay. We can
Okay.
review them. It's just so, this is a really tricky way to run a meeting, I have to say. Like, this is challenging. All right, so are there questions first for Jake on his code of conduct? No, you guys are set?
One piece that I did forget is with all of our MTSS work, I did try and connect our supportive measure disciplinary approaches and put them into our multi-tiered system of supports, which you will find at the bottom of my student code
Yeah.
of conduct. And that is also kind of aligned with district policy.
Okay, questions for Jake, questions for Patrick, whichever one. Yes, Tom?
It's just a general question. Is there anything that you view as a significant change from last year to this year in what you are capturing or expecting?
Within this document or in general?
Within the intended outcome of employing these documents? Is there something that has been either previously encouraged or discouraged that is now either being eliminated or reversed?
I'll speak for the high school. Nothing has changed as far as expectation. I think for me, the shift is intentionality. My kind of approach to being a principal, you'll notice that the discipline portion is the very end and it's the smallest portion. And then we end with growth. Nothing changed from how we approach the discipline. For me, I just frame this in a way that's lays out clear expectations for kids, because I think if they understand what the expectations are, we can guide them if they don't meet those expectations.
I agree. I'm finding each year we are getting more questions from parents in regards to why we're responding the way that we are to certain behaviors, their children. And I think best practice has always been, as a teacher, you set expectations and you're very clear and upfront at the beginning of the year. And I think this might help some students and parents better understand not only our expectations of our students, but how we, again, respond as adults to these different situations. So I don't think anything is significantly changed. We're just being more intentional and clear with our expectations of our students, but again, how we're going to respond and support our students with either supportive measures or disciplinary approaches.
Okay,
Can I-
thank you.
Can I just butt in for a second?
But I just wanted to go ahead.
I'm just, I don't know if you caught it, but so the part of the problem was the code of conduct had been referenced in the high school handbook, but it wasn't actually developed. So it wasn't a fully developed code of conduct in the high school handbook. A lot of these pieces were in there, but they weren't like,
It
they had
wasn't,
like title, code of conduct, and this is it. So this is a little bit of a, right? Am I right, Jake? And I don't know if that's true for the middle school as well.
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah,
it's making it more accessible.
so it's really much more like, and so you're just getting a piece of the handbook, and this is something that we've talked about a lot in policy, because we have had some significant discipline policy changes that you'll be seeing this summer that have taken a really long time to work through. So this was just happened to be that they were finished with this before we were ready for the policy changes.
Yeah,
So,
part of what's driving it is I know that this particular document, real or virtual, was referenced when we were having our discussions about the cell phone ban.
right.
And I was wondering if the administrative response or leadership in regards to certain elements is actually changing because of the focus. So, for example, with cell phone ban, you've had it in the middle school, it's new in the high school. Have you had to, do you view that you're going to have to change the expectations that you have of the students that will require some level of, I'll call it behavior modification or familiarization, or is this more a continuity of what we have been asking of our students up to this point? That was the reference of my question.
I think at the high school it's a yes and. Nothing's new here. However, the beginning of a new school year and then halfway through the year are always great reminders of what our expectations are and what happens when those expectations aren't met. And I think this is a more friendly document to reference and use with kids and parents when we're talking about what those look like.
I also think discipline has looked different in a lot of different ways, and a lot of times when we reference discipline, people think detentions and suspensions, and it is so much more than that, and I think it has been forever, but we haven't labeled that as discipline. And I think this is really kind of like showing how we do discipline in 2026. Even though it's always been around, we're just saying these are our disciplinary supports and measures, so that when a parent asks, like, well, you know, you haven't done anything, why are they earning a detention? Well, I have had 17 conversations with him about this. And that is discipline. A student being sent to the principal's office, that is a disciplinary measure of support. And I think sometimes parents just think, oh, well, it's a detention to suspension. So there's a lot more that discipline has, I guess, in our code of conduct now.
Thank you.
So these both look great to me. I just wanted to say, I do actually appreciate the difference between the middle school and the high school. Students are moving up to the middle school, and it's the first time that they're, I mean, I know they're in elementary school and but this is the first time they're really getting like a handbook book that they're really going to understand. And it really lays out for families the difference when you get into that kind of like switching classes and you're more independent and you're more responsible for your own behavior type things. And I think that lays it out really nice in the middle school with these tiered supports, and then to follow it up with a simpler document at the high school, hoping that people paid attention to what was going on at the middle school. Then, you know, so I actually like the difference. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. We
And
kind
I
of
get to
went
give
back
it-
and forth about it, whether we should just be pretty, like, more similar, but I appreciate that, Ollie.
Yeah.
'Cause I do want it to be clear that this is what we do and this is how we support kids.
Well, there is a difference between middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I think that's really appropriate that there be that difference. So I don't know if any of you heard that, but any other comments or questions on that? So my understanding is that the way the handbook works is we don't approve that. That's your document. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. This is information only. Great, thank you. All right, moving on to CIP. I don't know who's presenting on that. Oh, Lance, hi. That's why you're here. I was wondering. I was like, wow, Lance is so interested in our meeting.
Do you want to sit here or go up there? What do you want to do? Okay. Oh, I got it. You tell me. Oh, hold on.
Okay, is this in front of us? Okay, this is here.
It's not in presentation mode. Just tell me when to click. I'll click. Hold on. Is that on?
Mark, is that on? It's like,
Am I good, Mark?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're good.
wow. Oof. All right, perfect. Thank you for having me. This presentation has been born out of many years. I've presented this to the co-op BudCom for years, and every time I present it, I think Darlene or Tom or people say you should present this to the boards, and it's never happened until now. So thank you so much for having me. That's a joke. Please clap.
Okay.
no. Next slide, Gina. So the goals for this presentation is to inform all of you about the capital improvement plan for the co-op. and also begin longer-term discussion of project priorities and inform you of how we go about that, and how we implement and incorporate the capital improvement plan. Next slide, please. The evaluation methodology that we conduct when discussing capital improvement plan and what to add and what to fix and what to prioritize includes discussions with building administration, district maintenance personnel that are in the facilities department, superintendent, of course, the co-op facilities committee, and also outside sources and vendors that have been around and can provide valuable information on how we can better ourselves in the facilities world. And also, last but not least, the use of the facility audit tool. Next slide, please. I wanted to mention real briefly the co-op facilities committee because it is a huge part of the capital improvement plan and what we've done in the last 4 years. 3 years the committee's been incorporated. Oh, so you know what? I printed off.
Yeah,
I
I need you to
printed
be a
off
little,
front to
Lance, I need
back.
you to talk a little bit more into the mic.
Okay.
I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Yeah, I'm distracted by the rose gold or whatever this is. So when we talk about the co-op facilities committee, it's composed of SU administration, school committee members, town committee members, and also community members. The committee was formed to take a look at the future and vision of the facilities in the co-op, because in Hollis we had H Smart that really transformed those buildings, that made them more viable for the modern times because they're older buildings. So we kind of took that, and the co-op school board, of course, formed the committee, and I think we've done great work. Next slide, sorry. And this is just a brief outline of what we've done over the last 5 years, 4 years. Dehumidification units, that was like the start of the experiment per se at the high school, and I think we've gotten great feedback. So we tried to turn that into phase 2, but also hit our need. Back then, it's like a bad nightmare. State came to us and said we had to replace oil piping. So we talked about it in CFC, and we came up with a solution, and all our oil's gone, and I can sleep a little easier at night knowing I don't have oil boilers. So phase 3 was this last fiscal year. We accomplished that at the middle school, getting rid of our oil boilers. And now we are looking at phase 4. I believe that's the right Roman numeral, fiscal 27 and beyond, which we are spearheading Monday morning. We're giving a buffer day of Friday, and we're starting Monday morning, hitting the ground running. Replacing 3 roofs at the middle school here, starting Tuesday. It is going to be controlled mayhem.
Okay.
But that's a good thing, Tom. Please don't ask a question later about that.
Yeah, we're having a, you know what, I think you should come to a different mic, because that's not great.
This one's good.
So you come over here and just do it from here, because it's like,
I can't see the slides though.
I know, you'll be able to see the slides from here. We'll pull up a chair. It's really hard to hear you. Stay right there. Try that mic. And speak loudly, because we don't actually hear from the mic as you
I spoke really loudly at the Hollis meeting, and now it's like I have a complex. Next slide, please. Is that good? Perfect.
better.
Is that good? Oh, yeah.
When you speak like that.
I like to move away from the mic because I can use my
No, stay by the mic.
So when we talk about the facility audit tool, it is a spreadsheet composed of many criteria in the facilities world: HVAC, plumbing, electrical, any and everything. So every year we go through each building and we assign a number to that area, and then based off that number, if it's 5 or below, next slide, Gina, thanks. We deem that a area of concern or a priority, and we want to address that in our budget planning for the next fiscal year, which is usually in the summer. So we try to get this in by June, but things happen. So the facility audit tool is a good criteria or benchmark for keeping track of what needs to be addressed, and it's a good record keeping file for that very reason. Next slide.
1 second. Lower number, more urgent.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
So this is briefly a summary or bullet points of attention areas that have come up for this next fiscal year. HVAC, ductwork cleaning, adding HVAC specific areas. When I say that, it is aging units in both buildings that were not addressed. So those are air conditioners for the main office. The HVAC work we're doing now is we are primarily hitting majority classroom space, learning space. So when we say HVAC specific areas, that's aging, end of life coming up units. So we're just trying to keep that in mind. Athletic spaces with upgrades and whatnot, safety, emergency lighting, camera installations, fire safety repairs, ADA upgrades at the high school specifically. We did a lot of ADA upgrades here at the middle school. We're going to continue that at the high school in the next year or two. Interior renovations, we're looking at different life skills and special ed renovations. And like I said, exterior work, roofing, and the infamous egress roadway will finally be done this year after many years of talking about it. Next slide, Gina. The capital improvement plan specifically, I just want to mention this because sometimes it gets confused. I know I would confuse it if I didn't know anything about it. It's updated annually, and a lot of it changes. It's not a set in stone, set in gold document. Whatever comes with the changing day, I could feel very motivated one day and just knock something out, and then we don't have to plan for it. But those days might be gone because I'm very tired. And also, these are ballpark estimates refined annually. So we take a look at this 2-3 times a year and really dive deep. The closer we get, those numbers we want more finite, because then once I get a quote, it becomes gold. And I smile when I say that because of my past. I used to have a colleague who would come to me when a quote was over what I gave her, and she would say, "Lance, this is gold. This is what it has to be." I said, "Well, that's not what it is. It's over that. So please pay it." Next slide, Jan. So this, I know it's hard to see the screenshot of the capital improvement plan. In the past, I've gone slide by slide, and it's taken me 45 minutes. So I want to condense it here to conserve time for everybody. But this is basically all the items I talked about in the area of concerns, with the addition of a few. But feel free to take a look. Any questions, let me know. Like I said, it's a living document, so it's ever changing. Before anybody asks, we've been suggested to make it a 10-year plan. I'd love to do that, but if it doesn't happen, I'm telling you now, because 10 years is a long time. In a perfect world, we could plan 10 years, but again, I'm a realist, so I don't know how that's going to work. I think next slide, Gina. Oh, this is great. This is the totals. This is perfect. This is what everybody cares about, the money. So in fiscal 27, we're very ambitious with $797,000. Yeah, that's why I'm here, to get these things done. So thank you all for giving me these projects. And yeah, so fiscal 28, Right now, we're on the books for 1.2 and so forth. Like I said, the superintendent, along with the BA, we have budget meetings and, we carve those numbers out. And that's part of the budget process. And I think that's all I care to share. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lance. Thank you. Good job. Are there any questions?
Just one quick question. It's actually really helpful to see all the slide and understand it, and I'm glad that it's actually being presented in board meetings so people can look at it. But slide 10, where you've got all the breakdown from the years, if people want more information to understand, I can look at this, and I've been in our schools. I know where a lot of these things lie and why the need is there. But if somebody had a question about a specific, what's the best way for somebody to get information to understand it better? Because I do get questions about some of these things a lot, and just curious how to direct people, because I think this is super helpful, but there's going to be questions from this and how.
I need to know every single specific question, Beth, and that, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You can email me. Yeah, I guess I should know all this stuff. It is crazy that I know what all this is and all the specifics, and, this is just.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
and
it's just very brief.
Yeah, and I think, I know a lot of time and thought has gone into this, and it's just, some numbers, are really easy to look at and feel comfortable with, and some are bigger, but if you have some of the history behind it and understanding, some of them, the numbers that jump out are big and scary when I look at, and look at that track.
That's one of the bullet points I meant to put. Don't get scared by numbers.
Yep.
Only numbers.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, no, if emailing you is the answer, then that's the answer.
So in the facilities world, all we do is spend money. That's the secret.
Yeah.
So if you like spending money, that's what we do. We create no revenue. All we do is spend money. It's unfortunate for everybody else, but not for me. Correct. Yeah.
Do you want to give out your cell phone number so they can call you directly, please?
I have to go, actually.
So the items for 2027 have already been approved, and they're already budgeted for, and they're all set. So that's important, and it's really important for people to understand that this is a plan. It is not approved. It's not done. It's just so that we can do planning. And I think the CEAC would probably be interested in this document.
We would very much like a copy, if I can get a copy to pass on to the CEAC.
It's
Rob, for you, anything.
Pardon?
This is in our agenda,
You
so
got it.
you can get the link there, but
It's actually not linked in the agenda yet, at
It's
least not in the
this
one
is,
I have.
The latest and
how
greatest.
did I got to it?
Oh, okay, well, mine.
But I think
Version
what,
doesn't have it.
Okay, so I opened this at 4 o'clock, so it's just
Okay.
gotta be, I have to refresh.
but I
It's
think
fine.
one
I
of
gave it
the
to Gina
important-
about
If
4
anyone
o'clock,
has
so
a
that's my
copy,
fault.
forward it to me, because I don't have it.
Yeah, okay,
And I will
right.
take
So
it
that's
on.
good.
Yeah, it's on the website, but
Okay.
I think one of the important things is that almost all of these topics have been discussed in greater detail during board and/or budget committee meetings. The question I have is whether the website is constructed in such a way that if someone searched on a topic on the website, such as water system study or roof sections replacement, would it get them to meeting documents and meeting minutes where they could see the background information or meeting minutes? And if not, can we look into whether there's a mechanism to do a keyword search in our meeting minutes archive? Because that would probably do well if you could do a keyword search on roof sections, for example, all the minutes, and Dawn does an amazing job of capturing the essence of our discussions. That would get people real close to the background information on any one of these items.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in Brookline specifically, we've had feedback where we can, I provide, a summary of each project. And I don't know how that links to the website per se. I know what you're asking, but it's a little different from
You
that.
can give that to Gina, I think.
But there'll be a short summary of each bullet, each project, just for more information.
You can give her the mic. She wants the mic.
Oh,
Okay, so the searchability feature with our minutes came on when we added board docs and Diligent. That's one of the reasons we liked it. So all of the archived ones do not have that searchability. So it's more of a recent past few years that we could do that.
So basically through like 2023.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think,
Post 2023.
but
Post 2023.
I think even that would get a lot of these informations, because I know that they were discussed in past presentations that Lance has made to both the board and the budget committee, as well as intermediate minutes. So even the last 2 years worth of 2 or 3 years would probably get background information on the vast majority of these topics. So if that keyword search is available, that would be great.
The keyword search is available when you look in Diligent, not in the keyword search on the website. When you look for keyword search on the website, you're specifically looking at items that are directly linked to the site that we utilize, as opposed to all the board stuff is outsourced to
Okay,
Diligent.
we may need a tutorial.
Absolutely. I love that.
Okay. Thank you, Lance. Any other questions for Lance? Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the
Thank you.
time tonight and waiting through our meeting. Awesome. Thank you very much. We are moving on to the revenue and expense report.
Very good. So our revenue and expense report looks even better this month than it did the prior month. So as we get closer to June 30th, we have a better idea as to where we stand. We can release additional dollars that we had encumbered for expenses that we predicted would come up. So we were able to release a little bit more within the regular education. So we have an overage in regular education due to hiring savings and vacancies that have been there, but then with fewer lane changes than budgeted for teachers. Our special education line, we released a lot of additional funds, and that's due to changes in both out-of-district tuition and contracted services. Vocational program is the same. We are overspent, which is great. It means that far more students are participating in the CTE program than we had budgeted for, so that's great. We have an overage with extra funds in extracurricular stipends and in the coaching stipends. We have additional funds available in special education contracted services, and then smaller overages in all of the other lines. One line that we haven't seen an overage in a while is transportation, and that's because we've seen a savings in that line. That rarely happens, so we're excited about that. Overall, we have an expense balance of nearly 1.5 million. Looking at our revenue, we have additional revenue, which brings, once we do the transfer to food service, it brings us to nearly $1.6 million of a unreserved fund balance. But tonight, because we cured our procedural defect, we can go ahead and move forward with the transfer of $300,000 to the maintenance trust, the contingency fund of $125,000. The expectation that I'll come to you after our audit with a request for the retained fund balance. I'm putting in 376, 443. I believe that's somewhere around what we did last year. So that would bring total reductions of 801,443, while leaving the projected fund balance to return to the taxpayers really in the form of reducing the tax effort for next year over $768,000. We typically hope to return about $200,000. Given that some of these were special ed changes that we were aware of, we wanted to ensure that we were going to be returning around $500,000 to the taxpayers, and we're doing more than that. So that's where we stand.
Thank you, Gina. Just a question, and I don't know because I know it's going through the legislative process and I think it passed, and I'm not an expert on legislation, but it's my understanding that the governor has on her desk a law that would make it so that we'd have to return all retained fund balances.
Correct. Regardless
so-
of how the community has voted.
Regardless of how the community has voted. And so we wouldn't be able to retain any of this for
Correct.
next year,
Correct.
even though the community voted for that.
Correct.
Right? So that makes budgeting challenging at times when you can't count on things that you voted on to come to fruition.
Right, this is obviously a good year. We're underrunning the budget significantly, but the opposite could happen at any given time.
Thank you.
So which items on this are potentially in jeopardy by that law? Is it funding the maintenance
The
trust?
retained fund balance,
The retained, so that whole 801 is in jeopardy?
Not the whole thing, just the 376,000,
the
right?
376, yeah.
The 376,443, the part of that, the retained fund balance. That's that amount that we're allowed to keep that's like up to 2%.
So
and
it's not negating that?
It would negate that.
It would negate that, just the three,
So the 376,443, but we could still fund the contingency and the maintenance trust?
right.
Correct.
We just couldn't keep the retained fund balance, which is okay because we're returning
No,
money to
I
taxpayers
understand,
now. Right.
I haven't kept up on the intricacies of it.
I think it's HB 1610, if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, well, just telling you.
I believe
Doesn't
we're
mean I
close
won't,
to the
but I don't
5
want to.
days that the governor has to.
I don't know if he
Signed.
signed it. I
Yeah.
didn't keep up with that. I also think there's a tax cap, which is HB 1300 that we're keeping an eye on. I don't know what's happening.
Well, with that requires that it be on the general ballot.
Right. Okay, so where are we? All right, revenue expense report, thank you for that. Data governance plan?
Do you want to take that? Before Dot takes over, I just want to say how excited I am that Dot is now part of the data governance team, and I am not. And, and these are mandatory updates that we're sharing every 2 years as required by law. It comes to the board. There's no vote. We're just sharing what the updates have been. And Dot did a nice job of providing an overview sheet because it is such a page turner of a document.
It's my favorite document.
Didn't want to fill up your whole night of having to read through this, but John Boucher actually did a lot of the heavy work in here to do the updates. And a lot of it is title changes and people that were in there. There's also some formatting issues that were corrected. We double-checked Emmy White, who is the third person on our committee, went through and checked all the hyperlinks to make sure that they were working. There is some rephrasing and removing of some language that is no longer applicable due to changes in policy that we've made. And at the last section, we're updating practices regarding Google Suite and how long we maintain those records. So those are the major changes that are in the plan, and it will come to you every 2 years.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that? Okay, moving on to the Budget Committee update. That's you, Mr. Budget Committee? I don't know if it's on.
The Budget Committee was unable to get a quorum, and since I'm not a voting
Voting
member, I could not make it a quorum.
Great.
So it was canceled the night of the meeting. There is a meeting this month. I will probably not be able to attend. I don't know if law still prevents anyone else to attend, but it almost doesn't matter because I can't vote. So if
When is
some-
it?
Fourth Thursday.
Just tell me, and I'll, maybe I'll.
And they will not be meeting in August. So this month's meeting will have been the only meeting between May and September.
Okay, thank you. And if you had been able to be a voter, would there have been a quorum?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, that's complicated. All right, stipend committee update? I don't know who's doing that.
I didn't meet with them. Okay, so the stipend committee met on Wednesday, June 10th. They shared out a survey with advisors to talk about really specifically what every single club and activity and coaching position was all about. What does that look like for student participation? What does it look like for number of hours a week or a month, et cetera? If there's participation beyond the middle school or beyond the high school, and really try to assess also participation numbers to assess sort of are the clubs in the appropriate category for the level of stipend? And so they made some recommendations. The committee feels that these recommendations are necessary changes, and they would like to put them into the FY28 budget cycle. So you'll probably see those as we start building the budget at the end of this month, actually. Just to note, these dollar figures are based on the FY27 base salary, just because we're going into negotiations, and so we wouldn't have FY28 salaries available. So it's just a rough dollar amount. The other aspect that was really important for the stipend committee to discuss was how do we budget for and support brand new clubs. So especially at the middle school, when you have a group of students that come into the 7th grade and have a huge interest and a teacher wants to engage with these students, then something new. I can't think of something off. Spanish club is a great idea. That was new this year, but there's no Spanish club stipend. So it was a 3-year process to move that position into the budget. Unfortunately, those students are now long gone from the middle school, and maybe that interest level has died down. So how do we build in something to support the programs while those existing students are in the schools? And so the proposal is to add 3 Tier 1 stipends at roughly $550 each to each budget line, and then establish a process whereby the principals of each schools can evaluate the operation of a new club and determine whether the advisor is eligible to receive a stipend at the end of years 1 and 2. And then moving on from year 2, the stipend committee would review any pertinent information in order to determine the proper placement on the table. So within the spreadsheet, you can see some notes, like whether it's new for FY27 or if it's shifted from Tier 1 to Tier 3, et cetera. Some of those involve additional funds. And then there is an overall chart for the recommendations. So the budget changes reflect about $8,700 of increased stipend dollars from shifts and new clubs, both at the middle school and the high school, and then also about $12,900 in increases for coaches' stipends, including weight room management stipend, which we don't have, so those would be new.
Are there any questions on this? So do we approve this, or is this something that we bring forth for an approval in the next month?
So
or?
the idea that if I recall correctly, they were going to be brought forward as recommendations and then put forward in the budget, so you're understanding where it's coming from.
And then when we approve.
And then as we move through the rounds, you can say, no, I don't support this, or yes, I do.
So we're not actually voting on this table, but when we get to the budget, we'll be able to see where those numbers come from.
Exactly.
That makes sense? Yes? Tom? That doesn't make sense?
That doesn't address the question that you brought forth about whether to change the policy about compensating stuff earlier in the.
No, I don't think that's policy, though. Is that procedure? That's not a policy, is it?
How do we get there?
So you're saying it doesn't address the matter of brand new clubs?
About people in the first 2 years, or the first 3 years?
He's saying the first year, which the discussion was the building principal would have a criteria, and then they would bring it to us for approval.
But that's, is that separate than what you and Holly just discussed about how we will look at changing tiers and adding clubs? Or is it incorporated in that same process?
So what I'm seeing here, what I identified as about $8,700 for extracurricular stipends and $12,900 for athletic stipends. The budgeting for a few Tier 1s are not included in here. So my understanding is that when the athletic director starts the budgeting process with our business administrator, you'd see these 2 lines, and you'd also see another one for a budgeted amount for a to-be-determined set of clubs. And if they don't come to fruition, we would release the funds.
Why is he taking the fans away?
Maybe for the noise? I'm not sure. I don't know. So that's my understanding.
But what is it that stops, I thought there was is it a policy or a practice? What is it that is dictating that new clubs are not stipended when they start?
So our response was, that's not budgeted. We don't have the funds. So thank you
Got
for
it.
working with kids.
Got it. So it would entail the requirement that the proposal for the new clubs either be brought forth earlier or that there be placeholders put in?
That there would be placeholders. And if a new club, like I said, this is
So do you wanna
especially
just-
important at the middle school. So if there's a new club, that we would be able to get, the principal would get the proposal, and if that club comes to fruition and there's students involved and it meets the criteria, that at the end of the year, one of those stipends that was
A placeholder?
a placeholder could be paid out at the tier 1 level.
Okay, so we will in the budget discussion have the opportunity to either, to discuss it and support or oppose
Yes.
those placeholder positions.
Correct.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah.
And then what about new positions that were just suggested, like weight room and that kind of thing? Is that not up to the board, or is that in the same process when we get to the budget?
The three that are on the spreadsheet, those have been already existing for this is the third year, which is the current rule, that if it's in existence for 3 years, then they get paid
Okay,
a stipend.
thank
And,
you.
and you're referring to pickleball club, outdoor club, and Spanish club?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Holly was talking about the weight room manager positions for fall, winter, and spring. Is
I
that
was
correct?
talking about those.
Okay. So we can talk about it now. We could talk about it as we build a budget.
Okay, I think we can talk about it as we build the budget.
Okay. Sounds
That's
good.
fine. I'll try to remember. Okay, so I also have an update from the CEAC as number 8. That would be you, Rob.
Yeah, so we are looking to, this is really the first year that we're together as a committee. We started last year, like in the fall. So we're looking to establish more regular practices and when we start doing the reviews and building the multi-entity, if you will, picture for the budgeting cycle, which is during the fall. So we're looking to start that process earlier, and we're hoping that these dates work for everybody. We kind of put together 3 rounds of CIP that may or may not fit. But for now, we're looking for the first round of the CIP the week of the July 13th. That's a week before we meet as a committee. So there's time to distribute and review. So we're hoping that
Excuse me, Rob, are you
yeah.
referencing anything that we have?
No,
No.
no, this is just notes from my
Okay.
CEAC meeting. The next round would be the week of September 22nd, or right on the 22nd, if that works. If there is another round available, we would hope to see if we can get it by then. And then the final round would be the December 15th date. So those are the 3 rounds, and like I said, if there's no updates in September, then there's no round to really make any updates. So as they change, or as things get updated in the CIP, we would ask that those changes kind of fall into one of these rounds, and then we can pull that in and start analyzing things.
Yeah, so the July 13th deadline is totally fine. As I shared with this board and the Hollis board in the past, I think the committee views the CIP very differently than the way we make use of it. So what worries me about round 2 in September is that when we really start shifting, so for me, I'm going to look at FY28 next. When I really start shifting things out of 28, it's because I have the whole budget view and I'm looking to try to meet guidance and I'm going to
Understood.
our meetings and getting feedback and I'm making cuts. That hasn't happened in September, so we could just say no changes, but,
Okay, I can pass that on.
but I don't, that timeline doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. But before the final deadline, was that December, is that what you said?
The last one would be December,
Yeah,
where
so-
it's really congealed and locked down.
Yeah, and so at that one, I would really say then rather than just let me email you, we should have a really good discussion so we understand, because I think there's a lot of, this past year, a lot lost in translation in terms of like what's solid and what just got bumped a year.
Yes.
And so I would
and I'm
love
happy
to-
to represent that. And I do offer this data as a plan in that it is not a project activation. I said these things have to get from the plan have to get promoted through your recommendations first, and then the board has to say, yeah, that's what we want to do. And then it goes from just a budgetary plan to we're doing these things and we're putting money behind
If
it.
they're approved by the voters.
If they're approved, and if we as a board say, yeah, this is what we want to put forward. So we make that very clear, and both my peer from the Hollis district and myself don't start just taking these numbers and crunching them into something, because they're not necessarily going to happen.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right, and that conversation that you two will have, you don't need the whole board to be involved in
No.
that. Like, you can just meet with her.
I
Yes,
can just
Tom?
take that information.
I know from watching how Brookline uses CIP planning, especially where they have impact fees, and they have approached us for support of that activity. The big thing that they're looking for that we don't currently do is just sort of napkin-style estimates of if these 5 and 10-year enrollment projections were to come through, would we need to add capacity to our schools? If so, how much? And spitball a number, whether it be $5 million to put on an addition or $30 million to build a new school. Those are the kind of things that we don't do anywhere in our process currently, and I'm wondering, is there a way for us to do that, keeping in mind what Rob said about differentiating something between a hypothetical plan and something that's at the level of a project that's going to get people concerned, that says, oh, they're planning on spending $30 million in 7 years.
Don't say
What do we
that.
start doing? I mean, is there a way to support their requests within the framework of what we do or can do?
So I think that was part of the confusion with the co-op, because we did have an addition to the middle school as a what if for the purpose of impact fees for Brookline. And then all of a sudden, you know, we were questioned with, in an FY29, you're adding onto the middle school? No, but they need that in order to do, like the planning board needs that in order. for impact.
If-then kind of scenarios.
Absolutely. So that's why what I was explaining, every group utilizes this information differently. And
Yes.
so this spreadsheet that we give to Brookline identifies this is specific for, you know, maintenance of the building versus this is specific due to enrollment needs. Therefore, it's eligible for impact fees.
Is Rob's committee seeking that same level of if-then kind of guesswork, or do they want it to be more real?
It's a good question.
I think they generally would like it more real, but I don't know how we get to that point.
Okay, if they want it more real, then I think what we're doing now is about as close as we're going to come. But if they, because there had been talk about, at least I had heard talk that Hollis was considering implementing impact fees, and I didn't know if this was in support of that effort.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think one of the things I brought up in the last meeting I attended was that the work product of the committee has to be maybe different when we bring the co-op view versus Hollis, because we're part of a two-town entity. So there may be things that we need to consider when we're making, work product and bringing it here to give in a slightly different way, so it's more usable, more consumable for a co-op versus a district in a town. And
Yeah,
only,
and I would say a really complicated factor in looking at it through the lens of that committee was they took all of the items and then applied the apportionment percentage so that none of the figures matched any of our figures. And, in the middle of budget season, I was asked to clarify which ones were real and which ones already happened, and I'm recalculating all the numbers. And it just, because, and I understand it's for the purpose of the Hollis voter, but it just seemed like the process could have been a little bit more.
yeah, and
efficient,
we're sensitive to that, and we're looking for ways to improve that.
Yeah.
And make it more usable for a co-op, and not so specific to Hollis and so forth, because
Thank you.
You can't look at it that way.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
your work on that, Rob.
Thank you.
Keep us to date. I'm going to make a suggestion, because I know we still have some members of the music community out here. I was wondering if, when we go to deliberations, if there was no opposition from the board, I'd like to move item 3 and item 4 to be numbers 1 and 2. So I'd like to do 3 and 4 first.
Yeah.
You're welcome. No problem. Sorry, it's just the way it worked. But so let's do item 3, which is to see what action the board will take regarding the Visual Sports and Performing Arts Committee. So I'm going to have us put the motion on the floor, and then I will let Mr. Hess kind of go through his presentation for us. So I need a motion to approve the formation of the Visual and Performing Arts Committee. Okay, hold on. I'm going to let you do your presentation first, and then we'll do the motion, because there's a purpose of, and I want to make sure that we understand that. Go ahead. Do you have it? Is there a way to put it up there?
If we want to project it.
Can we, or
It's
is
not
that
much
too
of
hard?
a presentation. It's a document.
I know it's not a presentation. It's just it's information. People will see it. It's a little tricky to find it.
In a, like, to Mr. Harris, it's not in a presentation form. It's tiny print, so I'm not
Oh, okay.
sure.
It'll be too tiny. Never mind.
I think it's too tiny. To see.
You can walk through it if you want to. Too late. Okay.
We're doing it.
It might be hard to see. We apologize for that. Again, if you want to find this, you go to our agenda, you click on the high school principals report, you scroll down, and you'll find a link that says the Visual and Performing Arts Committee formation. You'll find it. But you have to go to the agenda, then to the principals report.
Thank you. What I really tried to do with this is build something, that prepares work with a deadline of the spring of 2027, so we can make recommendations to the school board to move forward with the program, but also address what I think is a bigger issue. And I know that our focus is often on the band position, but this is a problem with our visual and performing arts. It's a problem with a lot of our electives across multiple content areas. So I think this is just a starting point and a more visual starting point of work that administration will be doing behind the scenes anyway. But this, I think, is a good approach to put a lot of minds in a room together and really try to tackle and create a plan of sustainability and building a program moving forward. So what I'm looking to do is examine the current state of visual and performing arts within the district and develop recommendations to strengthen student engagement, participation, enrollment, and program sustainability. We really want to focus on understanding student interests, looking at the different barriers to participation, evaluating existing programming, and exploring innovative opportunities that ensures the arts remain a vibrant and valued component of educational experience. Although no one would ever want to hear me sing or play an instrument, I was a theater kid in high school and college. I taught theater in New York. I was once at one time a certified theater teacher as well as English, so the arts are pretty important to me. What we're really looking at, but not limited to, is obviously our visual arts, concert band, jazz band, choir, theater, digital arts, media arts, music theory, and any emerging creative art pathways that we come up with. Looking to have a recommendation to the school board by April 2027 to support planning and staffing for subsequent school years. And again, this was really like a draft that I put together. Any suggestions moving forward with this are welcome. Goal 1, develop a clear understanding of enrollment and participation trends across all visual and performing arts programs. Gather meaningful feedback from students, families, faculty, alumni, and community members. Identify barriers that limit participation. Explore innovative courses, pathways, scheduling models, and partnerships that align with student interests. And develop short-term and long-term recommendations that support sustainability within the program. As far as membership, a school board member, myself, faculty across both buildings at the high school and the middle school, current students, former students, students who do not participate in the arts, and then parents, community art advocates, alumni, and local art professionals. I really broke it down monthly, starting in September, and kind of tried to pick focus and action plans that I thought would facilitate arriving at a good decision by April. September, we'd kick things off. We'd establish the norms, baseline understanding. We'd review committee charges, expectations, existing offerings, current enrollment numbers, and historical student enrollment trends. What we would use to do that is we try to look, I said 10 years enrollment numbers. I don't know how far back the actual numbers go. We would dig through that. Student population trends, staffing history, budget information, and participation in extracurricular arts programs. And we'd want an outcome of really sharing an understanding of where we are at as the 27 school year starts. October, we want to analyze the enrollment patterns and identify our areas of concerns. What's growing, what's declining, when did this happen? Are the declines consistent with overall student enrollment? We'd really want to look at neighboring districts, similar size, that sort of thing. Participation rates by grade level, retention rates year by year, and have some sort of trend analysis report that we'd be able to share out. November is where we get into the nitty gritty and start talking with kids about what they're doing, what they're enrolling in, why or why not. Study groups or student surveys, focus groups, interviews. We'd want to talk to current art students, former art students, students who are never enrolled in arts courses, and really get to those ideas of why they're participating, why they're not, barriers, that sort of thing. December, we can deep dive into the pathways, scheduling, and future opportunities. We'll take some good looks at the master schedules, our graduation requirements, pathways, course prerequisites, and current offerings. We'd want to explore new potential offerings that might align with new emerging interests with students, music tech, audio production, digital media, animation, songwriting, contemporary arts ensembles, where we'd be able to have a list of potential enhancements and scheduling recommendations that could potentially be added. January, we're really getting community and family inputs. We're getting broader stakeholders' perspectives outside of the building as well. We're talking to the community, parents, alumni, public listening sessions. You know, what arts experiences are most valuable? What opportunities would we possibly be missing? And what are some community partnerships that maybe we haven't thought of yet? February, we're moving from information gathering and really developing an action plan. We'd want to talk about our recruitment and retention. You know, what are some ways that we can really sell our programs instead of, you know, just, the middle school's coming up for 45 minutes to visit the band programs, that sort of thing. What else can we really do to sell some of our things? We'd want to maybe look at some opportunities for reduced conflicts, flexible pathways, and alternative scheduling options within our master schedule, potential expanding extracurricular offerings, any new courses and community partnerships, and then any ways we can increase our promotion, public exhibitions, community performances. Our kids already do a lot in that with our music stuff, so we might be looking at some of our other visual arts for some of those pathways. But we would hopefully by February have a draft recommendation report made. In March, we'd be hoping to really present our findings to administration and the school board and the community, with hopefully end of March, beginning of April, there's a good action plan for moving forward. I think an important thing, and it's included here at the end, is I know a lot of the focus, and I understand, and I can appreciate why a lot of the focus is on this next coming school year, and the current position that was lost. However, what I really hope that this group and committee focuses on is that, this communicates that the committee is committed to supporting the arts long-term, studying the challenges honestly, and creating programs that reflect the interests and needs of today's students while remaining sustainable for the future. We need to build a program that's sustainable because the systems are sustainable, not because a person is in that spot. So, I've become in the past 10 years a systems and structures guy, and see the value in why those are important. And I think that that's something that this committee really needs to look at and keep in the forefront of its mind as it does its work. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? I know. I'm gonna let Beth go first.
Oh, I get to go first. Okay, thank you. I have a lot of little comments, questions, but I promise they're really fast, so I'll just run through it quick. My first one is maybe it's a question for Gina to answer, but just curious with the time frame of the goal to be able to present to you and the school board by April. Part of what we've talked about this year is having more notice. Like, is that enough time for you to, we're giving out contracts at that time. So do you need a little bit more time? Should we be trying to shorten the timeline? Or do you think the committee's recommendations?
I'll answer for
Sure.
the reason I wanted a draft by February and then presentation by March. That's usually when we're getting our enrollment recommendations and numbers. So that was kind of my focus with that. But
Yeah, I would actually bump it up another month, just so that if whatever recommendations come out, might, like some of the work that was identified for February might benefit in January prior to course selection.
Yep.
But I think that's fine. To Jake's point, we're looking at strategically planning long term. If there was a quick fix that wouldn't check all the boxes, we would just do that. But how do we really build something and sustain it? And I think that's a little bit more long term.
Absolutely, thank you. I mean, I definitely don't want to suggest rushing this, but I also don't want you to get the information in an amount of time that you can't share it with the community too, and then have more confusion moving forward because it wasn't shared. So that was one thing. Here, let me just scroll really quick. I think the goals, everything sounded really good. I was just going to mention super quick on the committee membership. Usually on committees, we have more than one board member just in case. So I would really encourage, and I think, I would
can
always
throw an S on there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Throw an S on there.
We can go up to 3 without a quorum.
Yep, exactly. So I was hoping just to add an S on there. I would obviously love to be a part of this. School counselor too, that was one question, is maybe add an S on that because one from the middle school. I can also speak to somebody that spoke tonight. I have had students, I've now had 3 come through this middle school to the high school, and I can remember at least 2 of them telling me they've been advised not to take an elective. So that's something that my own chose. So I think it's important to include a middle school counselor and a high school counselor if possible. And then on the flip side of that, the students, I think it's awesome. I love the suggestions for the students and the community representatives. But my thought and my question for you is what kind of numbers? Because if we have too many, if you've been on committees, like we want support, I think these are wonderful, but for current art students, former art students, like we need a limitation on them, would be my suggestion, because we are not going to be able to have thoughtful and effective communication. Like I think you need a limit on those.
Yeah, I love to cast a large net and then shrink if I need to. I talked with a student today trying to make plans for next year, and they want to do this great fundraiser, and they're like, should we limit the number of teams? And I'm like, no, at first, let's see what we get, and then if we need to scale back, hey, thanks for volunteering, we're going to cut right now, but feel free to submit a written thing that we can include in our report anyway.
So can I just make a follow-up suggestion to that? Sorry.
No, it's okay. You set up my question then, as my question is, cast a big net. I think that's great, but how do you pick? Like, do you have a rough number? And then how is the selection made? You might have 2 students, or you might have 35 students that come forward. So how do you select, was my question.
I think once I see how many kids that I have, and again, this is like a summer Jake problem, and I don't mean that in like a bad way, but like just wrapped up this year, but I don't want to say I only want 2 kids and 1 kid shows up. I don't want, if I have 35 kids show up and like, hey, I can take 5 students current, 5, so I really want to see what goes out there once we're ready to roll. and go from there.
So just as a suggestion, the other thing, if you have too many kids, is you can invite some kids to be part of some focus groups that are then reporting back to the committee, and that can be more than just like one meeting. They can
Absolutely.
follow up on some of this, because my comment was, this is a lot of work. And so to be able to have a student who works with other students to do some of the work might actually like be a tiered system if you have 35 kids show up.
Right, and to that point, like, I think that's my last thing I was just going to touch on is the plan. I mean, you put this together very quickly, so this was like school year, Jake. You did excellent job. I think it's awesome. I think
Thank you.
to that point, though, you have all these different categories, so students could be assigned different months because there's different categories. And my only last feedback was just December, like it was a really deep dive into things, and not a lot seems to successfully get done in my, from my experience on the board in December. It's just such a busy month across the boards for everything. So, but maybe that's how you work around it, is if there's enough student interest and people, maybe there's subcommittees. But
Yeah,
that was my only thought, is that was my only month that I thought might
If
be
you
a little
can
tough.
think of a slow month, please let me know. I think that
I'll get back to you on that.
yeah,
I don't know.
I think this is a timeline that when I created this seemed to work. We'll take a look and
No,
kind of go from there.
Yeah, overall, I think it looks fantastic. Thank you for
Thanks.
the time on this.
Go ahead, Tom.
Great. Thank you very much. This is outstanding, Jake. Outstanding. Thanks. I fully agree with Beth and seconded by Holly that you need more members from the board. If for no other reason than if someone's absent, I don't think you want to have a meeting where there isn't like some board representation, because we as a board rely on that feedback mechanism on a frequent basis.
Yeah.
So I would say as many as you can get volunteered without it turning into a quorum.
And I think the plan was the meeting locations, we would rotate board members' houses and we would meet there. So.
Do I get to pick the month? On your goals, you have the 5 goals. I think all 5 are important, but I think only one of them should be the goal, and that's number 5. All the other items lead up to it. I don't know if you can get there on the slide, but you need one marching order deliverable. And I think number 5 is it, that you want a firm, actionable recommendation. Everything else supports doing that, but everything, I would like to see all the activities of this committee viewed as through the filter of, will this work support this one goal?
Yeah, and I can say 5 is the goal and 1 through 4 fall with the use.
However you want to phrase it,
Yeah.
but I don't want to dilute that one goal.
5 is the charter. That's why you're coming together. And
The first
all the
floor,
other
yeah.
goals feed into the charter.
So this is just, it's a structural thing. I don't think it's anything different than your vision, but in terms of having been a committee member on things like this, sometimes you get in the weeds on the preliminary ones and don't get to that last one, and then you're at the end of the year and, well, we didn't quite get there. We got 1 through 3 done, but we have nothing actionable. And then the last question I have is there intent to include, I don't know what we call them, but I'll call them the theater classes that are considered part of, it's considered ELA work rather than arts in terms of teacher credentialing and stuff.
English, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I think and so while all of this is happening with a committee, the other work that's happening with myself, Ms. Flamino with the program of studies, we're also looking at all of our other electives and offerings.
I just didn't know if you were lumping the improv and acting into this project, or if they are being kept within the English department curriculum evaluation.
I think right now I include it under performing arts. I have it in this section to fall under that. And again, an issue.
I'm just curious, because I think that question will be coming up as far as what coursework is being considered in the committee.
Is there any other questions, comments?
More comments. I think your goals and ultimately your charter align very well, and I think it's structured well. I mean, certainly for some of the things I'm hoping to see out of the committee. However, I would beware the Ides of March because we typically don't meet in March.
Good point. Thank you.
Because it's the
Budget.
annual meeting
Yep.
time. February, April, probably better. February is even a little tight because we're going into the belly of the beast,
Yeah.
you know, of March. So anything you're looking to present to the board, that gets dicey that time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just consider that.
And we can prioritize it on the agenda as well, so.
I just have two quick things.
Sure.
Great. This is great work. One thing, I think it might be important to get some information from the elementary schools just around their offerings and enrollments of the various programs. And also, don't forget the Unified Arts program. I think there's at least a Unified Music class, and I think that maybe there's an opportunity to expand that program as well.
Great. Anything, Jake? So it's important for people to understand that this would be a working committee and that there's work to it. It's not just sitting. I've gotten some feedback from people that it's just a committee and committees don't accomplish anything. Well, that's not true. In this district, committees brought us advisory. They brought us CAV block. They changed start time. Committees make a difference. We are not a board that says, oh, we'll just put it into committee. We have a facilities committee that's done amazing amounts of work. Committees do work from this board. If a board member sits on a committee, we do work and we accomplish stuff. I'm telling you. I mean, years ago, the start time committee was started by a student council president who was really frustrated with the way and what time our school started. And that made a change. Didn't make the change they wanted. They wanted a half an hour and they got like 20 minutes. But we got something. Like we got something because kids and people work together to do it. It's not, oh, it's just a committee. That is not how we work. And I promise you it's not how we work. And the members of the board who will be on this committee will make sure. So the fact that you've started here, which is a great place to start, because normally we just say, let's have a committee, and then the first day is the work. So the work's really on its way. So the other...
I would like to emphasize that because committees are formed and chartered by the board because they have to do deep work that this board can't do. We only meet a couple hours every month, and we got a whole bunch of other things to cover. So committees are needed to do that focused, deep work and then bring that recommendation to us because we just can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah. And then my other thing is, and Katrine brought it up in her email to us, I just don't know if there are barriers to extracurriculars for students who don't take band in our school. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if a kid needs to be in the music class to be able to participate in honors jazz or in jazz band after school. I don't know that. And so if there is some sort of barrier, and even if it's not a systemic barrier, but if it's a cultural barrier, I want to have an understanding of that. Because the thing I have really learned about music this year is because I have an arts person, a visual arts child, but not a performing arts kids. And so what I've learned is that there is a conflation between our contracted positions and our extracurricular positions, and that there's an assumption that that all just melds together, but that actually, in a semantics way, isn't the way it works. We hire a teacher to teach band or music. That person doesn't have to be our band director. We're not allowed to hire like that. We can't say, when we hire and we go through contracts, you can't say to somebody who you're asking, you only get this job if you're going to direct band after school. That's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but we can't do that. And so, but yet it still gets mushed because most of the people who teach music want to work with the kids after school. But I don't know if there's a barrier for a kid who maybe can't take our class. Can they still go to All-State from our school? Can they still go to Tri-Am? Can they still be a part of that? Can they go on the trip? Do they have to be in the class? Like, what is that? And if those barriers exist, I want to see. That's something that could change this year. Yeah. So that's just my question on that. And just everybody, it's a working committee. We work hard. So thank you so much, Jake.
Is it possible to ask if there's any questions from our friends who have stayed?
You
'Cause I'm
can
happy
do that.
to-
It's so not what we normally do, but
I
I'm
know.
going to allow it.
I'm happy to answer any questions from you guys if you have any as the parents. Yes.
Just, Brendan, you do need to come because it is a public meeting and you of all people understand the importance of our protocols.
Brendan LaFlamme, Hollis, New Hampshire. This is fantastic. Thank you. It's pretty ambitious looking at it. I've been a part of strategic planning in the past, goals and objectives, that kind of stuff. It's very ambitious, and I wish you luck if it's approved, and happy to help if you need help from a parent.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just quick, because technically this isn't public input, and I don't know if I'm breaking some sort of law.
Just a super quick question. Kendall, Fletcher Lane, whatever. Okay. So you talked about casting the wide net for the students. Like, how do you plan on like reaching out to community members? Like, are you, like, what's your process? What's do you think you're gonna do for that?
I'm gonna have a booth at Old Homes Day as one of my things. It's related to our NEAS report. We'll get to that next month. But I'll have a booth at Old Homes Day where I'm hoping to really interact a lot with the community that doesn't get my newsletter, that isn't always interested in the school. So try to get information out that way, using our current students, using the families that are, as a way to help kind of spread that information and get input from as many people as I can.
Thank you. Okay, so, oh, I'm sorry, Kat. Go ahead.
Sorry, slow to jump up. Kat Dickow. First of all, thank you. I see you've put a lot of time and effort into that, and thank you to everybody for all your really thoughtful comments tonight. I think it's a great plan for moving forward. I also would love to be involved with it. And I know Lena would probably also, she wasn't able to be here. She's in California tonight. So, okay. So thank you. Also, just throwing it out there, part of this, as far as reaching out to the community, there's a hope and kind of an inkling of an idea and a spark about creating a booster club. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there too.
And your best resource for that is to talk to our high school booster club, Mo Turcotte. That is one of your best resources.
I've already been in
that's
contact
it.
with
So just
them.
kind of keep that in mind, because they also have very, very specific rules that the administration has put into place regarding fundraisers, and booster clubs raise money, but that booster, we don't allow them to sell stuff. So that's just something to be mindful of, because if we don't let them do that, then, and that's an administrative policy, but we were pretty involved on the booster club, some of us, and yeah, just so you know.
I've been in touch with Mo, and he said he's happy to help us kind of figure things out as we go.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So
Okay.
just kind of throwing that part of the puzzle.
It's a
out
great
there,
idea.
too.
Thank you. It's not public, but if you have a question, come on up. Yeah.
I just real quick wanted to say you had mentioned all-state musicians and being unsure if students not enrolled in band classes could still participate in all-state festivals, and that is something that has happened in the past and did happen this past year as well.
Okay.
So I did want to bring that up. I don't know what the rule is exactly, but I figured that was worth mentioning.
Thank you. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. We actually looked into that, and there has to be a school connection. So it could be school signing off on the individual musician, or it could be participating in pit orchestra, or any degree. There's a number of ways. We wanted to make sure that that was not a barrier. But thank you for identifying. We're already doing that.
Okay, so thank you for that. Thanks, it's a great job. Thanks for your comments. I need a motion. I just need to know what the what's the word that I'm using for purpose of? Can someone help me with that? Do you have the outline?
What's your question?
So I have a motion by member to approve the formation of the Visual and Performing Arts Committee for the purpose of blank with membership consisting of. Do I need all of that, or can I just do?
You can, but I would, for the purpose of, I would suggest goal 5.
Goal 5 of presentation.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not going to put with membership consisting of. I'm going to keep that off, okay? So I just need a motion to approve the formation of the Visual Arts and Performing Arts Committee for the purpose of Goal 5 as presented in tonight's presentation.
So moved.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Beth. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Great. Moving on to the next
May I make a request?
Sure.
5 minutes?
Do you need 5 minutes? Do
Yeah.
you need a recess? Okay. Sure, I'm going to recess for 5 minutes. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah. The next topic is the policy, and we have, don't worry, it's the second reading. So whatever we do with it, we won't finish it. It comes back next month. So you can read the minutes and you can send us emails about it.
And the policy committee is a public meeting. The public can't go back and forth, but you can hear the discussion during the policy committee meeting to kind of hear the questions, and then you can always email policy committee members your feedback.
And the next
To
one
be
is
incorporated.
the second Monday in July at 8 a.m. at the high school. Okay? All right, thank you. Okay, 5 minutes, huh? How come I don't need 5 minutes? I already peed. You didn't ask for a reason. We are coming back from recess, please. Okay, moving on, even though they're not here, let's just do, they left, let's do policy. No, let's go back since no one's here to talk about policy. Let's see what action the board will take regarding giving authority to the superintendent the authority to hire. Oh, by the way, we're coming back from recess at 9:32, and I'm really sorry, Dawn, I don't know what time we went out, so like 6 minutes ago. I need a motion by a member to authorize the superintendent to hire, accept resignations, and terminate staff until the August board meeting and require notification of the board of such actions.
So moved.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Beth. Beth, great. Are there any questions on that? All in favor? 7-0. Motion carries. Okay. I need a motion to authorize the expenditure of an amount not to exceed $300,000 for the Hollis Brookline Maintenance from the Hollis Brookline Maintenance Expendable Trust Fund for the purchase of the maintenance items identified during the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Beth. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. So moving on, we're going to go over policy IIB. So I'm going to have you put it on the table. We'll put it on the table and then we'll talk about it. So I need a motion to amend policy IIB class size and accept, I'm sorry, it's not a motion to amend. I need a motion to accept policy IIB class size for its second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Rob and seconded by Beth. I'm guessing, but I think it's Beth. Okay, so policy IIB is separate from the policy memo because of all the conversation we're having related to class size, and it is the reason I still have Patrick and Jake here. Trust me, I've thought about releasing you, but I needed you here for this one and maybe for anything else. That's it, I think.
He's getting more sleep here than he does at home.
Right, that's true. That's true. So, do you want me to go over it? Do you want to go over it? Who's going over it?
I can do it.
No, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. So last month we decreased the maximum class size from 50 to 40, and now we're suggesting 30. However, we've gotten some feedback, Jake, right? So we'll talk about that in a second from our current music teacher. So band would be, according to this version, band would be 30 and choir would be 30. We'll remove computer-based courses because we don't have computer-based courses with labs anymore. So we're taking that out. Family and consumer science stays the same because it has a limited number of spots, and PE is at 30. We changed the preference, like the preferred maximum class size for math and science and language arts and all of that. We just put a preferred class size of 20 students up top. We had a rationale for that. Dot, can you remind me why we want to make sure we keep a preference in there? Because some of us were kind of like, let's get rid of that language. Why did you decided at the elementary schools to keep a preference of?
No, we had a long conversation around is if you put 24, it's going to automatically go to 24, and we wanted to hold that we value smaller class sizes. So we're saying that we'll go up to 24, but the preference was to hold it to be at 20 if possible.
That was the rationale. We still have the exceptions in there. These are may. I want everyone to understand, if anybody's watching or listening or capturing the minutes, this says classes may have fewer than 12 students, which is our minimum now. If not now, which is our minimum in this amended policy. Once it's approved, it might become minimum. Classes may have fewer than 12 students, or if one or more of the following are met. These are guidelines for the principal and the assistant principals as they're building the schedules. So we kept these guidelines in. The first one is really kind of law, because we have students who need small class sizes, and that's identified in their IEPs. We also have the second one, which is classes designed to meet state minimum standards. Most of the time those classes are not running too small, but we do have that situation, and we want to make sure that if there's a required class, students can get to it. And then if the class is a capstone in a series, so as a student's in a program and they're following through. We kept that one, And the reason we've highlighted AP classes is because as late as it is and as tired as we all are, I wasn't making that decision. It was just me at the meeting. Amy wasn't able to be there, and it was me as a board member, as the only board member there. And so I wanted board feedback on whether or not we want to continue to keep that as one of those guiding principles, but not necessarily, like it says, it's May. It doesn't have to happen. As a matter of fact, we did have AP classes that have been not run this year and in the past because they've been under 8 or under 7 or under 5. AP art isn't running this year with around 3. AP computer science isn't running. So we wanted your feedback, and then the only other change that we made specific to this is to have the course enrollment numbers come to us by December. We just haven't always gotten them in October. Sometimes we've gotten them in November. So by the end of the calendar year. Those are the changes we made. I'd like Jake to kind of give us a little information about where we're at with that number 30, and then we'll ask about AP classes.
So I specifically reached out to our music department, asked them about that number 30 for music, and the response was, would recommend keeping the number at 40. So sometimes if it's 30 and we split them and then schedules move, we wouldn't want one of those to drop below the number and then we're not able to run it. So if we're at that 40 number still and we split, that still guarantees that we're running both sections, even if there's a movement of a few students. So they really recommended that we keep it at 40 and not at 30 for the band numbers.
I also thought he spoke a little bit, and if I recall, I read the email, spoke a little bit about the importance of ensembles and having enough numbers of musicians to actually be productive in a class. I thought there was a little bit of an educational element as well in there.
Yeah, there's a long comment about that as well. It's splitting them up. You then are looking for moments where you can combine them. Cav block is obviously natural where that is, or after school, but now students are missing out on the opportunity to connect with other teachers because they have to come together for this. Just the importance of really keeping them together as much as possible.
Yeah, that's kind of what the feedback was. So I think we can approve it at 30. We'll go back to policy and talk more about it, but I wanted to give you the heads up that we got feedback from the department themselves. And I really hope the public picks up on that, because if we go up to 40, it's not in an effort to make it more difficult it's more based on the recommendations of the people who teach these classes. So is that good with everybody on that piece? So now I just want your feedback on the rest of it.
I just have one question, so I might sneak ahead. My only question, and this is the first time I've been in me to bring this up, but just underneath the classes may have fewer than 12 students. My only question was just for me to better understand. The very first one, the class is one specifically designed to be small. I know some of those are absolutely directed by law because special ed certain things, but the way that reads is very open-ended to me, and I might believe a class should be small, and Gina might believe
That's
it
a really
should
good
be huge, and you might believe it should be How is
100%.
that?
Yep, we can change that.
Yeah, it just makes me nervous of how, like, I want to leave it open-ended. Okay.
What you said is very
Okay.
It's excellent.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm just
Excellent.
worried about that. I want to leave.
You're viewing
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
You're viewing it with eyes that haven't been looking at this for years and
Right,
years.
that's perfect.
And
That's perfect.
the light bulb went off the
Okay.
moment you said it, especially in our current
I
context.
think that's
Perfect, because I
think
do want to leave. I want to make sure, like, we are leaving discretion open to our principals, and I want that to be there. But I also want to make sure, like, I don't know. That's the one thing
No,
that
you're
jumps
right.
out at me. Is
Absolutely.
like,
I also want to mention that it was brought up to us via email, and also Jake mentioned it too. Some folks in the music world would like us to include visual and performing arts electives under here as an exception. We in policy at the meeting decided not to do that. And I will say my feeling on that is that there's a lot of electives, and I don't know if we can elevate one set of electives over every other set of electives and say, well, these electives, visual and performing arts electives, are more important than physical education electives. Are they more important than foods? Like, I understand a lot of times people are like, it's just foods, but for some kids, foods really matters. Or whatever electives. So I am struggling with elevating some electives to the point where they would be in that category, but I'm here to listen, and I would, and I know that that is something they really want. We heard that somebody said we should be running guitar with 5 students. So,
Well, and that's my point. I want to leave it open-ended for our principal's discretion, but I also want to protect our principals by not leaving it so open-ended that somebody can attack
I agree with you
their
100%.
decision, if that makes sense. Okay, that's all.
So, Tom,
Sorry.
no, don't be sorry.
Well, I
highlighted
I
it because of
see
you.
everybody groaning, because I do. I have a page of it. But I'm going to skip my first one and come back to it later. My first concern is the last sentence of the first paragraph, and I'm going back to the idea that it's the superintendent or their designee who approves exceptions. And I take exception to that because this is a school board policy. And as we have seen, the school board, regardless of how we choose to delegate, is held responsible for many of these decisions. So exceptions should come before the board. And if that means that the board has to be flexible enough to meet to discuss an issue that may arise during the scheduling period to support the scheduling schedule, then so be it. There are other instances where we have to get together because something needs to be addressed. And I don't want once-a-month meetings to be the reason that the board is not accountable for exceptions to our policy. So I strongly support that either it be the school board and the superintendent or just the school board, but I cannot support it being simply the superintendent's responsibility to approve exceptions. Do you want me to go through
No, I just was going to piggyback off that. I actually agree with you on that, but there's also no mechanism that if we left it the way it is, that they're informing, like, we wouldn't know that
Not
if
until
there's an
it's
exception.
brought to us.
Not
It's
until the
It's
incremental
after-
times.
It's after.
I
So
missed
that-
what you just said. It's
Oh, so if we left it as is, I understand where Tom's coming from, and I think I agree with him on this one, but if we were trying to find a compromise and allowing the administration to do this, I want some kind of mechanism that we would know an exception's being made before it's already off and running, and we wouldn't necessarily because we get informed twice a year.
So maybe we need to think about, think about the timeline, the May timeline. That's something we can talk about in policy.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I agree with you. I just- there's no-
Ultimately, how you structure it, ultimately, I think it's a board decision to make an exception to a board policy.
Okay.
I think it's akin to what we just did for the summer months. We passed for a limited time
Right.
power to the
Okay.
superintendent to make those decisions, but then it expires and it comes back to us.
Okay.
There's plenty of mechanisms, but
Okay, thank you.
moving up with the class size minimum of 12 and then the preferred class size of 20 students. My question about the 12 is this the correct number to use during the scheduling period in May and June to ensure that we've got a proper class size by the time we reach October? I have a feeling the number might want to be bigger just because of the difference that often we're told about happens between initial scheduling in, when is it June or May? And when schedules first come out, and what actually comes to fruition.
I understand your question.
So,
I'm
and
not
then- and
sure.
then on
I'm
the-
not sure how we manage that, Tom, because we could have a minimum of 15 still, and if we have decided to run the class, because if the administrative team decides to run the class with 15 students, a class that always has consistently kids haven't dropped, and it gets put in a part of the schedule, and 7 kids drop it, we can't not run it because schedules are set. So if
Well,
that
actually,
decision is made in September.
you can, it's difficult, but you,
But,
you
I
may not
mean-
want to. But I'm not saying a particular number there. I just want it relooked at under the
Okay.
focus of, the goal is to have a decent class size
Right.
in October.
Okay,
Once
thank you.
kids have started school, you want to have a class that you can run.
Yeah, I just want to point out one thing with the 12, because this is always a challenge. When we have 26 students sign up for a course, we can say we have one section, and then some automatically cannot get it. If we run 2 sections, I don't have enough for either of them to run. Does that make sense? So so when you look at 24 and 12, numerically, that is a better option. So I do prefer the 12 to the 15. I understand where you're coming from and what happens in the fall. I do think that potentially the committee is going to look at some things, some recommendations that and Project Citizen looked at a couple of recommendations that I think might alleviate some of those, what happens between May and October. But I just wanted to put my plug in for 12.
I understand that, and that's part of the that's part of the reason why I'm saying that I think the board should be involved with exceptions, and perhaps maybe it requires that there be a scheduled meeting at some point during that process specifically to look at scheduling so that we can collectively agree that this is an exception. We're going to take the exception now consciously and defensively.
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Can we move on?
Yeah,
Thanks.
on the preferred class size of 20 students, I'm wondering if instead of saying a preferred class size as a part of this, whether you want to set a trigger point for looking at splitting a section so that you can say that if the class size is above X, you'll automatically consider making that 2 sections. I'm just wondering if that would be a more effective mechanism of avoiding the pitfall that you see with scheduling at 24.
So why don't we capture that for the policy meeting to
Yeah,
talk
but
about?
you understand what I'm suggesting?
Yes,
Okay.
we understand.
Okay. On the
Amy's captured.
exceptions, Dot, did you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
On the exceptions, I would like to, again, remove the last 2, the capstone and the AP courses as automatic exceptions, because I would much rather have the conversation be, are we going to move this to an alternate year? Are we going to do it? Again, I'm concerned about the decision being made in a time frame, in a context, where by the time the board hears about it and has objections, there's nothing they can do about it. It always is, wait till next, well, we understand, we hear you, we're going to go to next year, and by next year, we're in the same pitfall. It becomes a bad cycle. And then I strongly agree with Beth's
Yeah,
comment
I gotcha.
once she's
We've got
made
that
that. Finally, I'm concerned about the move from October to December. I understand why you did it.
I thought you
but
suggested it.
no, my question is this early enough to incorporate in the budget process and community notifications so that you're going to get the impact and the feedback? Maybe November. I don't know why you don't want to do it in October.
Well, we do it in May, and then we would do it again in December. So May is and that's the date that you're kind of playing with. May is the request set time, and December is, we're just reporting out on what the final numbers were.
Oh, okay. I
So,
misunderstood.
Yeah,
I
so that
misunderstood.
doesn't matter. So you're good with December. December's like just a final report out. The numbers aren't going to change anything at that point.
Okay, I thought what you were trying to do is get the numbers for the
Did you hear
next
all that,
budget cycle.
No, those numbers would be, this is what's happened this year. Like
So
May
it's a
was.
rearward view.
It's a rear view.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
And we were doing it
I'm
on
fine.
October, November, but go ahead. Dot.
No, I was just gonna, we could put a sentence in what a lot of places do is make the decisions based on your enrollments when people sign up, so that if you have that drop off in the fall, course still runs even if your number drops down, because it's not really fair to kids that have started taking a course to then say, we're cutting this.
I think we
because
started the first
we had
paragraph
talked
with
about
that. The first
yeah.
paragraph actually says that the time of classes shall be at the time of initial scheduling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can change the initial scheduling to the time of request or something, but yeah, okay. So, question for the rest of the board about AP classes, because we didn't know how to handle that. Obviously, Tom would like to see that removed. It doesn't mean that an exception can't be made for an AP class. Tom would like to see both capstone and AP classes removed. It doesn't mean that an exception can't be made for those. It just means that they're not in that list. And it, in my opinion, you get rid of those, the exceptions there, you give the principal a little bit more, I don't know, grace when he makes a decision to not run an AP class. It's not like in the policy, you're supposed to run AP classes. It's more like, because people aren't going to read that May. They're going to see that list and they're going to say, oh, AP classes are supposed to run, even if they only have 7 people. So
Can
I kind of thought it would
comment
be
on
good to
that?
get rid of it.
Holly?
Yes. Yeah.
Good, because when I went to the CTE regional meeting, and they were specifically talking about the various types of coursework. AP courses are seeing heavy competition from the Running Start programs and other ones. The feedback that I got in that meeting was that AP is not these days a very successful way of getting college credit. And one of the things that we've heard over the years is the AP curriculum is often quite restrictive. It shortchanges by a month of how long you can teach. One of the reasons that I believe we've had such an emphasis on AP courses within our school community dates back to when we were very invested in the U.S. News rankings, which is keyed off of that. And there are a lot of good options. If it's a question of waiting or opportunity, I would like to see us encouraging some of our other programs, which actually seem to have preferred curriculum. And so there are a lot of factors that I think diminish the exceptionalism of AP classes as a group.
Great. So I know Tom wants us to take it off. Anyone else? You're good?
I agree with taking it off.
You agree with taking it off? Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with taking it off. I'm saying I agree with Tom a lot tonight, but I do. I think that's a really valid point, and I'm seeing that in my own students. I'm seeing that across the boards. And I guess I don't know how to articulate this part. The only other thought that popped up when you're asking the AP question is I just don't want to run away AP coursework. I understand running it next year if it's low, but as an exception, not as it written in here, only because if it's low 1 year but it continues to be a successful class, but I just don't want to see that be the excuse. I don't know how to say that, but if it's perfect. If it's trending down and we're seeing it going down, students start their high school career saying, I'm going to take this AP class. So making fast changes, I think, would be unreasonable. But if we're seeing it trending down, I just don't want that to be used against us. And when there are other options that I think are becoming more popular.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So that will all go back to the policy committee. Amy's taking copious notes, so that's great. Thank you. Moving on to the policy. Oh, I need a vote. Sorry. I need a vote for second read. All those in favor of that for second read? 7-0, just in case somebody's listening. It will be back next month for hopefully a final reading and an adoption. So moving forward, and I don't think we need the principals for the rest. I think we can let them go. Sorry, I'm literally letting you go with 5 minutes to spare.
Can you unlock computer science?
All right.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do we have a non-public? Oh, God. Okay. All right. So let's get through the policy memo then. So I need where's my motion on this? I need a motion to approve the recommendations identified in the policy memo as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Rob. And second by Beth. Thank you, Patrick. All right. So Doc, can you just
Yep.
lead us through the memo, please?
We've got a short list this evening. And our
Jake, I
first,
did release, I did.
first policy is EHB-R. This is the retention policy for record storage. And we are bringing it forward for a third read and adopt with no changes.
Great. Any questions on that? Okay, and then the two for first read?
We have two coming in for first read. The first one is our the bullying policy. This is very difficult to read on the first read because there's so much that's being changed. But what you'll see is this has, or what you need to know is this has already been reviewed by the attorney. And so they've made a lot of
Thank you, Jake,
changes.
thank you.
The green language, it comes out in different colors when you get, depending, but that's new language from the attorney. If you see something that's red, that was language that was in the sample policy that came out from the School Board Association that the attorney may not have been agreeing with, so they're changing it. When you get this back for second read, it will be much easier to read. This is just to show you all of the changes that are happening. And then the same is true with the manifest hardship language. This has also been reviewed by the attorney and will be in a much easier format to read for the second reading. But you can see there's some substantial changes in that policy as well.
So if it's underlined, it's new language. If it's green, it's attorney language saying, yeah. So that's a little bit confusing. And then the red is what the attorney crossed off. So I understand that these are really meaty and you might want to give feedback. I would really love it if you would, I don't know if it's okay to do this, but if you would just send the policy committee an email on these, because this is for first read. We will still have a second read on this and a third read. And I think it's late and we're tired. And we have a non-public that I just found out about, so.
The green is the attorney's recommendation.
So
Yeah,
it's the,
both
the one
both
that
the
we
green
wanted.
and the red is language that was from the sample policy from the School Board Association that for us, whatever reason, she has changed.
yes, Tom.
Are there any changes in either of these two policies that you view as will change how we have to operate in our schools?
I think. So are there any changes in here that you view would change how we have to do things in our schools?
No.
Okay.
Just
So-
one quick question.
Sure.
Otherwise, I would have pushed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, my only quick question is just, I noticed, so I think I know the answer is, but there's so much that's crossed out, but some of it is brand new and underlined. Was that just to slide, because it's so many changes? Because you can see the same language being crossed out. It was just to make it easier and a clean slate. Okay, that's right. We've had a couple like that and that we
Yeah,
didn't
it's
know
a
what to
real
do other than
overhaul, right.
cut it all. Okay.
So, and that's why I don't want to try to go through it.
Yeah.
Now, I think we will bring back a cleaner version and things that are crossed out are not going to be there. So it's good for you to see it in this version and take a
Right.
look at it, but, okay. All those in favor,
I see we got the he and she. Do we have?
can you, I can't hear you.
We've got the he and she in there.
We haven't changed, we haven't updated that.
Do we need to?
We'll do that in a second.
Thank you. All right, I missed what you said, but she caught it, so that's
He and
good.
she
Okay.
versus they.
Oh, he and she. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All those in favor of the policy memo as presented? 7-0. Thank you. Excuse me. Oh, that was really loud. Sorry. It was the loudest thing that happened all night. Okay. So I just need a quick report out from the process observer. I
Okay, we
think.
called the
Oh,
order.
wait. Hold on one thing. So we did get a letter of request for negotiations, right? And so I've spoken to some members, and I think we need to appoint a committee tonight. Do we need to appoint a committee tonight, or can we appoint a committee on July? So negotiations for the teacher contract, sorry, will start this fall. So I think Tom, Rob, and I will serve on it, unless there's somebody who doesn't want to, but I know Cindy's okay with that. She's been serving on it. I did it last time, and Tom has done it for many years. So is there someone else who's pushing, would rather take my place? Okay, please. All right, so I think if I can have a motion to approve the appointment of Rob, Tom, and Holly to the HEA negotiation team? Moved by Cindy, seconded by Amy. Okay, and then all those in favor? 7-0. Great, thank you. All right, and now we need a report out from the process observer.
All right, we called to order approximately 6:50. That was a 50-minute delay from our planned agenda start. We had public input for the public hearing, not too much input there, but that closed at 6:58. Regular public input started at 7:30 and was open for 30 minutes. We received continued input relating to the music teacher position. Principal reports started at 7:13, 7 minutes earlier than we had on our agenda, so we made up some substantial time there. Covered a lot of ground during the discussion sections of the agenda, entering deliberations at 8:57, 27 minutes behind our time frame. The board entered into a very rare Q&A and comment section with the community members, which I think was warranted and wise. After returning from a 5-minute recess, we worked through the remainder of the items of our deliberative section, and we wrapped up and landed the plane at 10:03.
Well, we're not completely wrapped up because we need to go into a non-public, but
I
thank you for
understand.
that.
I know.
Thank you for that. So I need a motion that the board by roll call go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employment, and to discuss a matter, C, to discuss a matter which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of a person other than a member of the body or agency itself.
So moved.
Moved by Beth, seconded by Kate. Okay, I need a roll call on this one.
Cindy, aye.
Beth, I.
Rob, aye.
Kate, I.
Holly, aye. So we're going into non-public at 10:04. I don't know.